At a creature effects workshop in Hollywood, California, something has escaped. This animatronic abomination is a danger to anyone in its path. The only way to stop it wreaking havoc in the city? To distract it with movie news, discussion, and reviews. Moviesaurus Rex!
Welcome to the Moviesaurus Rex Podcast. This is the third part of a three-part Star Wars miniseries. I am Hooch, joined today by special guests
Alex, Max, and Neil.
And today we're talking about Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. So, I suppose we'll kick off. Generally, what do we think about it? We've all seen the film now, more than once in some occasions. Some instances.
I've watched it 16 times.
Oh, right. So, how do you feel about it?
No, 2 times, sorry.
2 times. I've seen it twice, Alex.
I've only seen it the once. And I loved it.
I've only seen it the once as well.
So, I suppose we'll start with Neil. What do you think?
It's a really fun film.
Mm-hmm.
It's genuinely lived up to the hype that they put in. And yeah, I'll definitely go and see it again if I have the chance to before it comes out the cinema.
Great. Max?
It was pretty good. Liked it.
A man of many words.
I think it was the sort of film where you really benefits from seeing it twice because it's so dense that when you come out of it, there's so much to take in. It's hard to sort of even have a full opinion until you've really gone back and watched it with knowing the kind of general gist of the film.
It's so fast-paced as well. You sort of don't have time to really process your own thoughts about
and there's
it.
a lot
at the
of
time.
they introduce a lot of new stuff as well. So lots to take in.
Alex?
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. I can't wait to go watch it again.
I'm on the same as Alex, so I fucking loved the film. Thought it was brilliant. Right, that's our general.
So we're coming in heavily biased.
No, yeah.
No bias at all.
Overall, we're pretty happy on it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to say. It's the sort
There is a lot to say.
Yeah.
And we're about to say.
Oh yeah.
Segue.
What I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunity for criticism.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things you can point out that
And
I think a lot of people feel they should have been different, or they felt wasn't as effective as it could have been.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like a film that could have been even better than it actually is, and there was lots of only minor changes that you could have done that would have really cemented it as possibly the best Star Wars film ever, surpassing the originals.
Whoa, no.
Yeah, of course it could.
No.
Yeah, I said if you improve it, then it would be the best Star Wars film ever.
I mean,
No!
if you improve episode
I'm not
1,
saying
it could be
it
the
is.
If
best
you
Star Wars
improved any
film
of them, they'd be... But no.
I think it was just short of that mark, but I suppose we'll talk about that quite a bit.
Okay, interesting. So we thought we was all in agreement there at the beginning, but now we're sort of lines are starting to be drawn in the sand. Is that the right expression?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever. Let's move on. Okay, so a broad sort of question. There's a lot of new characters in this one. It's sort of like passing the torch onto the next generation of fans and actors and all the rest of it. What do we think about the new characters? Do we have any favourites?
BB-8.
Yeah, BB-8 was
Definitely.
fantastic.
Stole the show?
When he did that little thumbs up, that
lighter.
cemented him as the
Yeah.
best character.
Call me out.
Yeah, I don't know about the thumbs up bit.
If you didn't like that,
I thought it was
basically
funny.
what's wrong with it?
But the astromechs have always had that sort of weird sense of humour.
Yeah, but that's over characterising it to a certain, because R2 never really had.
Yeah, right, but
That.
you don't just want another R2.
No.
He's got to be different from R2.
Yeah, but I just
Again, this is the same thing as you don't want people just making the same film over again with the exact same types of characters without differentiating or varying on it at all. You got to do new stuff.
That's very true, but when you look at the overall what actually happens in the film,
yeah.
But we're talking about the characters.
We're talking about the characters, yes.
So BB-8 isn't your favourite character,
No.
clearly.
No, I thought actually Kylo Ren was my favourite character.
Okay.
I think you mean Kylo Ren.
Oh, sorry, Kylo Ren.
The first time we hear his name in the film is Kylo Ren.
Or Ben.
Ben!
We're talking about Max von Sydow specifically when he
When he said, I
Ben,
knew you
got
before.
yourself. Kylo Ren. He just says it. He says it in a really weird way, but I guess it's just his accent, isn't it? That's what he says.
I think he's
Great
going to have like
accent.
really interesting growth over the series because he's an extremely flawed character, and
Yes.
He's
I'm
not,
excited to see where he goes.
He's not. It's not black and white with him, is it? He's in that.
No.
He's on the fence. I mean, you could say he does commit by the end of the film.
But at the same time,
He
you can
tries.
see how powerful he can be.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like when he stops the blaster
I mean,
bolt and
That in itself, he stops the blaster mid-air. We've never seen that before. So technically, does that mean that he is the most powerful villain that we've had in Star Wars yet?
well, he's getting trained by a new master though, isn't he?
Yeah. We'll get on
Well,
to
that's
him.
the thing. I think there seemed to be the implication that he's stronger in some ways, but a lot weaker in other ways.
Emotionally,
Yeah,
he's.
Yeah, you've got your strengths and weaknesses, and obviously they need to play off. Yes, he could be more powerful than Luke in the Force, but
His saber skills are poor.
his saber
Suck
skills are
balls.
poor, and also, yes, as you said, he's got that emotional weakness that other characters don't have.
Why is he your favourite character then? Of
I
at least this film.
I think because he's more interesting. He's got that emotional weakness that you kind of see coming into it throughout the film, where at one point you think, is he, isn't he? And obviously then it sort of, he cements himself as, yes, this is the path that I've chosen for myself. But at the same time, he's got a lot of growing up to do.
I think there's a big air of mystery about him as well because where we saw Anakin's like descent to the dark side, we don't know how this happened for Kylo Ren. So
You're only introduced to him as, right, here's Kylo Ren. He's on the dark side.
Oh,
He's not a Sith.
he
He's
almost
trying to be dark side, isn't he?
he
He's trying,
almost
yeah.
seems like Anakin.
Should have been.
No, with the emotions in like episode.
In Attack of the Clones, that sort of like.
Where you start seeing him sort of doubting himself and doubting those around him who he thought were good. He still seems to be doing that, even though it is.
It seems to come from the opposite end, though, in that Anakin was kind of being manipulated and being taught that the people he trusted were evil, whereas Kylo Ren is trying to be more evil, but he keeps feeling this pull of his family, and he even says, doesn't he, to I think it's Darth Vader's helmet that he still feels the pull of the light, and he still is
which is
affected by it.
fascinating
He
because
does.
you've never seen that in a Star Wars. Someone actually being turned to the good side. Well, I mean, Darth Vader to a degree, but like it's not like he was pulled to the light side. It's like
He stepped back into it.
it
It was a very conscious decision. It
yeah.
wasn't so much.
Kylo Ren doesn't want to be going to the light side. He wants
He
to
wants
feel
to,
hate. He
yeah.
wants to be, like you could sort of see a physical manifestation of that when he's in the final battle when he's been wounded. He's like deliberately punching his wound to make himself more angry because he just wants the fuel of the dark side. He wants that hate to drive him.
Yeah.
A lot of people, well, at least I've heard from multiple people that they didn't like his reveal. And people say that people have gone as far as to say.
I mean, when he
they
took
think-
the helmet off.
Yeah, they think that he should never have done that. I think we'll probably seem to be in agreement that was a good thing because it shows that he's not his sort of
you can see where
badassery is a facade.
You can see where his sort of like lacking confidence comes from because he wears this mask and Poe Dameron says like there's no reason for you to wear that, like it's just a well, it might not be Poe Dameron, it might be Max von Sydow's character, but anyway, regardless, he's deliberately making himself out to be Vader even though he knows deep down he hasn't got any reason to sort of wear all this stuff or be this formidable. It's like it's just his sort of like it's his insecurities. And
He's just trying to emulate Vader, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's trying to really sort of channel that.
And everything he does, like killing Max von Sydow, spoilers, killing Han Solo, it's just him sort of like reinforcing his own beliefs. It's him saying sort of, I'm committing to this. I am bad, like because I did this, I did that. Like the light
But he
side
doesn't
can't pull me.
doesn't seem to really truly believe it. It's something that he feels
No,
he
yeah.
should do in order to reach power. But
So, like-
he's very conflicted about it still.
If he does turn to the light side, like because this is a 3-part trilogy now, if by episode 9,
trilogies.
exactly, yeah, all right. If by episode 9 he does go to the light side, is he redeemable after what he's done? That's the big question. Like, has he gone too far?
Well, come on.
Vader.
Vader killed kids.
Yeah.
And he got redeemed.
They were younglings. Obviously, that's different.
Oh, sorry, my bad. My bad. Younglings, yes.
And they were a threat to the Republic.
The thing is, from his point of view, the Jedi are evil. So you have to...
From a certain point of view.
Yeah.
From
my point of view, the Jedi are evil.
Wow.
And once he said that, you're like,
Fair
you're justified, mate. We get it.
Yeah.
Didn't think about it that way, but now you've said those exact words, you've just blown my mind.
But we've sort of
dumb.
dwelled on Kylo Ren long enough. Finn,
Reckon?
Rey, I think were excellent characters as well.
Yeah.
I think they had a really good sort of...
Oh, that face. That face of
Max
that
is putting
name.
a face.
No, look, you're finished.
Go on, Alex.
I really liked both of the characters.
Was it their interaction between them?
Their chemistry was fantastic.
Mm.
Like when they're trying to fix the Falcon,
Yeah.
and she's shouting at him, and he's just like
It's I
flailing.
haven't got a clue.
BB-8 sort of doing all the... Yeah, brilliant. I really thought it was great. Poe Dameron as well. I thought he was another...
Poe Dameron was my favourite.
Cool, yeah,
I
he was
think
really cool.
the best star pilot in the Resistance. Like what a badge.
But again,
And
him
he shows it as well.
He shows it, yeah.
him and Finn, again, there's a good relationship
Yeah.
there as well. There's
Like
just
proper friendship. You actually
Yeah,
buy
I do
into
agree,
their
I do
friendship.
agree.
You're
There's
like,
a lot of
yeah,
great
they-
chemistry.
Yeah.
They've been praised very, very highly from like pretty much across the board.
Yes.
Both of them as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I think they've made really good choices in those
So-
characters. Yeah, so
Is there any characters we don't like? I mean, Neil, you said BB-8's sort of like a sticking point with you. Is there any others that people have like
Well, currently Captain Phasma
Phasma? Yeah.
is a shit
Okay,
character.
let's talk about Captain Phasma.
Why
Is she a shit character though, or has she just been underused?
From a certain point of view, i.e., this film, she was a shit character.
Why though?
She was overhyped in the media.
Was she hyped though?
Under-delivered. Yeah, she was
She
one of the
wasn't-
main.
she was-
She was one
she's
of the
like,
main
we've
marketing
got-
materials, wasn't she?
We've got whatever the actress name is.
Gwendolyn Christie?
Yeah.
Yes, we've got her. She's in the film. It's amazing. Blah blah blah. But we're not going to use her properly. It's like, right, okay, you're going to have her have a go at Finn, and then later on in the film, she's going to do nothing at all when she gets held hostage.
Wet blanket. She's supposed to be this badass, and yet it takes a stormtrooper that she knows she knows that he's reluctant to kill people because she investigated him, and yet when he threatens her, she's like, "Oh yeah, I'll take down the shields."
But with him is Han Solo and a Wookiee that can tear her arms off, you know? So it's like, if it was Finn on his own with a gun, would she have done it? Probably not. But because he's got she's outnumbered, and she probably knows who Han Solo is as well.
Is Chewie with them at that point? He is.
I think so, yeah.
can I throw a curveball?
Yeah.
What if she's a rebel?
Valid argument.
Ooh,
That would
that's
be good.
interesting.
Because they all seemed quite reluctant to kill her.
Yeah, but they wouldn't have known, would they? Even Finn none of them.
They
would.
wouldn't have known. Well, okay, possibly Chewie and Han might have done, but Finn wouldn't have known.
If she was a rebel, why would they need Finn to go and deactivate the shields? They just say, "Oh, we'll just contact our rebel mate, the captain."
That could have blown her cover.
Yeah,
That
but she's
could-
blowing up the Starkiller base, so it doesn't matter, does it? Who's going to be left to call her out?
Well,
on
I
it?
mean,
Yeah, but if
Hux
the
and all
message got intercepted before it got to her, then they could have. But that's beside the point.
just thought I'd throw it out
Just
there.
okay, I like that. I
They
like
also
that.
didn't complete her arc. The last scene of her character was in that room, and then they went, "Where should we put her?"
Oh,
That trash compactor, and then you don't
Garbage
actually see what
compactor.
happens to her.
I mean, there is a lot of deleted scenes that they've said, but we can't
Yeah,
judge
but that's
it
great.
on that. We've got
But
to
if
look
it's
at
not
them.
in the film,
Yeah,
it doesn't
yeah.
matter.
I mean, as a character, I thought she was perfectly fine. Like, you see her at the opening.
Mm-hmm.
Kylo Ren gives the order, kill the villagers, and she's the one that steps in and goes, right, on my marks. There's no hesitation. She doesn't give a shit. She's like, if Kylo Ren says kill him, that's what I'm going to do. She's in charge of the stormtroopers. She is, I guess, second in command from General Hux. And I mean, yeah, she gets underused, but there's 2 more films for her to get used, That's how I read it anyway.
Provided she hasn't been
I don't-
compacted.
They might have put her in the trash compactor. She probably got out. Maybe they didn't put her in a trash compactor. Maybe there'll be a flashback at the beginning of the next episode where we see how her, Kylo Ren, Hux all get off the Starkiller base.
Doesn't Snoke say to Hux
Round them up.
to round them
basically.
up? So he says
Yeah.
round up. Ren. And
Yeah. I mean, she lives to fight another day.
She has to,
My-
because
my-
she was
my-
so underused.
My only hope is that they actually do utilise this character, because if not, it's that whole
I think she's going to be the Boba Fett of the new
Boba Fett job.
trilogy.
But if you compare her to Boba Fett from Empire, Boba Fett is so much better, because he doesn't have to do anything.
Which is just as well, because he didn't do anything.
I feel
But we won't argue that one, because I will. Yeah,
Maz.
There's potential there. That's what I
will-
see
I
in
will
her. There's a
defend-
lot of promise.
I will defend Boba Fett.
Maz was a good character.
See, Maz... I mean...
polarising Naz is.
Right, we'll get on to Maz then. You thought she was a good character?
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah?
I liked that she was the hub of all the weirdness again, like all these bizarre-looking characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just like that whenever there's like a cantina sort of setting in a Star Wars.
See,
Interesting.
I was a bit conflicted on her, because when I first watched it, there's always emphasis on like making things real, having real puppets, animatronics, sets, and all the rest of it. And then amongst it all was just this obviously CGI
Pumpkin.
thing, your pumpkin running around with the weird steampunky goggles and flat face with the beady eyes. It just felt a little bit off to me. Like, but then again, how can you say what is off when this is a galaxy filled with all these weird aliens and creatures? Like, you can't say that doesn't look like Star Wars, because now we're in this part of Star Wars that no one really knows much about. You know, every single character in that canteen was a new alien. It wasn't something. I don't think there's anything in there that was a previously, you know. I don't think anything in there existed beforehand, apart from the wolf thing that ran through. There's like a tracking shot where you're behind this wolf alien, and it's clearly meant to be the same species as the one in A New Hope in the canteen, but they cut out for the special editions. Little callback. But anyway, she just, like, on the first viewing, she felt a little bit out of place, maybe because she was CGI. But second time watching it, I sort of went in thinking, I'm going to hate the scene where Maz Kanata comes in. I just don't. Second time I watched it, I was like, actually, the performance is quite good, like, considering it's a virtual character, you know.
The CGI with her and Snoke as well definitely diminished a lot of the character.
Yeah.
I forgot about the traffic noise.
That's right, don't worry about it. Oh, we're in a flat, by the way. We're by a road. There's going to be cars. Deal with it.
I think it's worth explaining that because their engines are so loud, it's because they've got big penises. So it's not like, really, we should all just stop for a moment and be in awe of how manly and how large their penises are. And we know that without even seeing them, just from the noise.
Just from the noise.
No,
I like it when they rev their engine when they're not even going anywhere. Like, that's how you really know that
I, for one, am very impressed by that sort of thing.
they're very fertile.
I see someone do that and I think, that man is more successful than I am. And he's a better man than I am.
Another thing about
I'm on
Maz.
to a winner then.
Anyway, let's get back to Star Wars.
Right, Maz.
From penises back to Maz.
But no, I think the CGI definitely diminishes the impact of a character.
Which in my mind, like, there's a lot of CG in the film, but it's like locations and objects. I feel like CGI should be better by now. Like, we've had Avatar. I wish they'd just had a little bit more time just to touch it up and make the characters that were CG look a little bit better.
There's a whole big issue with creating characters in CGI. Sets, effects, whatnot are easy to do because you don't have to worry about how light plays with skin or light plays on reflective surfaces. Whereas with a character that's a full CG character, you have to think about how the light interacts with the skin, and therefore you have the scattering of light under the subsurface, and that is really difficult to do.
I mean, there is that to it, but I just think it was motion captured, at least face-wise, but I just feel like the way that they're animated just doesn't feel real. Like, even if the lighting was perfect and all the rest of it, they just feel too animated. Like, they don't feel like they belong in...
We know it can be done as well, because
same
it's been
spaces.
done in other films. The video game industry is big on it right now, and there's some very believable performances done through motion capture and rendered entirely in CGI.
I mean,
That kind of
we
gives
got
them the
like
excuse.
Gollum in Lord of the Rings. Like, all right, the original Lord of the Rings might be a bit dated if you look back at it now, but the Hobbit trilogy, the CGI on Gollum was fantastic. Like, he looked like he was actually in that space.
Interesting fact: they used exactly the same model for that character, and they just upped the texture detail,
but animated differently. The character was used differently. Like, it's just something. I can't articulate exactly what, but there was just something about that character. It was a little bit too springy, a little bit too...
Bit uncanny valley.
There was no...
Yeah.
What you mean, there's no, like, inertia in the... Or not enough inertia
Yeah, there was
the
no
movement.
sort of physics to anything.
No weight.
Just,
So there was...
no way,
fair enough.
And just the design of her, I didn't think was... If she's meant to be the sort of Yoda, isn't she, really? So why not just get... Why not just go out there and just have the same species as Yoda or something? Why do we have to have this... But why do we have to have this, like... they're going so close to it, they might as well just do it,
But it's something new, and that's what it needs. It's nice. It's nice to have all these sort of nods to the originals. Having a cantina scene, having a Star Destroyer coming across the screen, but you need new stuff. Otherwise, it's going to be the same film over and over again.
I felt like the design was just like they had about 10. They saw that one and went, yeah, that'll do. Let's not develop it any further. It's got goggles. It's got a big orange head, little eyes, brilliant. The kids will love it. And then they just ran with it.
Would it be weird, like later into the trilogy, if they did make a puppet for that, or
they can't
be
do
too
it now.
jarring?
For continuity, they have to keep it the same way as it is. But
with Yoda.
Yeah, but
that's separate trilogies, though, isn't
true,
it? Yeah. I feel like
if you're going to do CGI, you've got to make
sure
it's perfect.
They originally went with the puppet
in episode 1,
in episode 1, and then they moved to CGI.
But
they then went back to it, didn't they?
I mean, I don't know.
Geesh, I think you've got more to say about Matt that you haven't had a chance to say.
Please do.
Well, there was a little saying I noticed on our stronghold. All the flags.
Mandalorian flag.
That's not what I'm bothered about. I know that's there, but I'm fairly sure.
Oh, I know what you're going to say. Go on.
It's fucking pod racing flags. So she is my in for more pod racing.
That's not the only pod racing thing in the film, by the way. Some of the parts that Ray gathers up, I think, are from a pod racer. And there are shots when BB-8's running along, and in the background you just see pod racers, like full vehicles.
What, moving?
No. Like stationary. Like they've been there a long time, like collecting dust and all the rest of it.
I can't believe you. Oh, I suppose we've only watched it the once, but yeah, you see little things.
There's lots of little references to stuff, especially even like fans of the expanded universe. I think there's lots of little things they put in just to kind of have a nod to it.
There are, but not enough.
They bought the chest back, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yes.
They didn't need to show that chest table.
That's awesome.
Anyone that's going to care about that chest table is going to recognise it without it turning
I've got 2 little bits of trivia for you on the chest thing. One, they actually went and did stop motion animation again, just how they did with the original.
Good.
And 2, the move that the little monsters do on the board carry on from where the game left off on episode 4. So it's like the same match, which doesn't make much sense unless like no one's played chess since then. But anyway, like
they were kind of busy.
The monster like picks up one monster and puts it down. Like I think the next shot, which is in the new film, is the other monster getting up and then getting its revenge on the other creature. Just a little bit.
That's great.
That's
great
information for you.
I did see it. I think surely in that film, that one could hands down beat that one. But it was.
Maybe it's not the same game, but the idea is the monster got its revenge on the other one, basically.
I did nothing.
That's right. Neil's just destroying our studio right now.
It's all sort of falling down. See if you could stick about.
Can I also raise a point about the Kanji Club?
Right. Okay.
Infuriating.
Let's do that now. Right. So me and you, at least. I don't know about these guys. You seen the raid?
I love the raid. Yeah.
Right.
It's not.
They sort of made a big thing about it. They've got actors from the raid in the new Star Wars.
3 of them. The 3 main characters from the raid.
Yeah.
That'd be all right. Better than nothing.
Yeah. Sorry, they're just fixing the studio while we're talking.
It's fine. Carry on talking.
It's all right. So then we meet Han Solo. We reunite with him. we're on his like smuggler freighter thing, and then suddenly he gets boarded by two groups of people. One of them's the Kanja Club, which are the guys from the Raid. Now, when I heard that the people from the Raid were going to be in Star Wars, I was like, what are they here for? Is it going to be like Raid-style lightsaber fights?
Bounty hunters, I thought.
Bounty hunters.
It's worth mentioning for people that haven't seen The Raid that it's a very good martial arts film with very, very decent action sequences.
Expectations were very high.
And these are kind of the main characters from those films as well.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, the three main characters, the three biggest fighting experts from those films.
But they go down like the biggest bunch of cunts.
I don't think the three main guys died because they end up in the hangar shooting at the Falcon at the end. Those three.
Really? I thought I saw the guy that plays. Is it Mad Dog?
Mad Dog.
I thought I saw him get killed by one of the Raftars.
No. He ends up in the hangar.
Okay.
So maybe with Rama, like the guy who played Rama. The Mad Dog V2 looks like an Asian Samuel Eto'o. I didn't see him though, so maybe he perished. But
all right, so I've got a theory. Maybe like how Jabba the Hutt sort of pops in and out, like to get money off Han Solo and all the rest of it, settle his debt. Han Solo owes a debt to the Kanja Club. Maybe from now, in episodes 8 or 9, the Kanja Club are going to show up again, and they're going to try and take the Falcon from Rey, Chewbacca, to repay Han Solo's debt since he's not alive anymore. There'll just be another group of threats.
Yeah, maybe this was just an introduction. It was just a way of introducing them to bring.
Who are the other guys in the red armor? They had
so Han Solo borrowed money from two groups to do the same job, basically. And the Kanja Club went to the guys who were all dressed in red, and the guys in red said, "Oh, he paid us. We paid him 50,000 whatever's schmeckles to do the same job."
Credits.
So then they've both sort of got together and gone, right, let's corner this Han Solo and get all of our money back.
That rascal.
And that's what it was all about. First time I watched it, I was like, this whole thing on the freighter with the Raftars and the Kanja Club, and this really doesn't need to be here. Like, there's always deleted scenes that are sort of plot driven that have been taken out and character driven, but we've got this weird scene where these like horrible CGI tentacle things are rolling around.
They look shit.
Like, I just didn't...
Eating people instantly when they're minor characters, but when it comes to approaching a main
when it's
character,
Finn getting picked up, they're like,
then
we'll save him for later.
Drag him all the way through the ship before they decide to eat him.
You've got to remember, this is a J.J. Abrams film.
Yeah.
We need monsters in it.
But
it has to be done. Every film he's done has had monsters in it of some description.
That doesn't justify it, though.
It doesn't justify it, but it wouldn't be an Abrams film unless he actually stuck a monster in it.
you did feel a lot like in the first Star Trek, the reboot Star Trek, where he's in the snow planet, and there's that thing chasing after Chris Pine. Just like, why is it there? Because it's a monster.
Because it's J.J. Abrams.
And it felt a lot like... which character is it? I can't remember. It's in the same film, where someone gets stuck in like the water duct things, and I think it's Scotty has to Scotty has to... It just felt like that, like just sort of sound and noise, just to sort of... You know, like when there's a quiet bit in the film, and just for pacing's sake, they're like, let's wake the audience up and have this scene where like there's a chase and there's monsters, and it felt a bit superfluous.
A bit contrived.
You know who could have made that scene a lot better? Tarantino. A great sort of conversation.
Could have been a great exchange. There's no need for the monsters. The monsters was just there literally to break it up, you know?
Well, half of the conversation was in another language, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Half of it was like,
yeah, but they all know what they're saying anyway. Like, everyone...
Yeah,
it felt
knows
strange.
what's being said all the time.
But sorry, I sort of like... don't know, sort of butted in. You were talking about the raid guys. What is that? Was that your main sort of grievance?
I didn't get it. Yeah, I mean, I was hyped to see them, and I was excited when I saw them. They looked awesome. They were like space samurai with
their... about, you know, Iko... Is it Iko?
Iko Uwais, yeah.
His hair.
Like the two mohawks.
Yeah, no, I didn't like that.
Yeah, you'd like to.
I didn't... It seemed a bit silly.
It looked weird.
It's space, you know.
I know space, I suppose.
Space.
The Final Frontier?
Maybe?
That's my favourite Star Wars quote.
I thought it was Doctor Who.
You're right.
No, it's definitely Harry Potter.
And another couple of people I wanted to talk about.
Yeah?
In Maz's place, there's the two guys that Finn is going to go off with.
Oh, you picked on them? Okay,
yeah,
strange.
the outer rim people.
Oh man, the guy in the red, I was like, awesome.
Cool as dicks.
Neil.
That armor.
It looked very similar to the
It's
like the special guards in the
it's
original
very
trilogy.
reminiscent of a special set of armor you could make in the original Star Wars MMO called Star Wars Galaxies. It was a set of armor called Riss armor. Very difficult to get, but
It could well be a callback to that because he has put a lot of.
But it's
These sort of
that
things
it's got
in.
that very samurai sort of Japanesey feel to it, and I sat there. I was just like, "Whoa! I wonder
That
if
guy's
that's
a high
based on that." He's a high level armor crafter. Yeah.
That guy spends way too much time online.
Sorry.
No. I saw it and I was sitting next to Max in the cinema. I was like, this fucking dude.
And I was like, shut up, I'm trying to watch film.
Stop talking about it.
Again, in the cantina again, there was just lots of interesting characters, which I'm sure
Yeah,
the extended universe will have its way with no time soon.
if it hasn't already, there's endless comic books being
My
made
only
right now.
problem with the cantina scene is it moves around too quickly. It needed to be a lot slower.
I mean, there's a lot to get through if he's got to show off all these creatures,
He could have done less.
The scene itself was quite short. I mean, they go in, sit down, and then Finn has a little hissy fit and walks off.
Yeah, but it moves around way too quickly.
The whole film moves just to I've said it already, just moves at a really fast pace. There's no real time for you to sort of sit down and get your bearings. It's just right, next plot point, moving on. It's like it's not a negative thing, but it does feel like this is Star Wars for the smartphone, iPad age of kids. The short attention span. Let's keep it moving.
I don't know because Empire Strikes Back, that was all go.
But it worked.
It did work,
But there's a lot of
Force Awakens
there's a lot
worked.
of slow scenes in Empire. Like when he's on Dagobah training, there's still some sort of. There's a lot of talking scenes on Cloud City where if you're a kid, it might not sort of. I don't know.
That's fair. Yeah.
This does feel very.
Oh, it was actually.
Keep it moving, keep it going, which is good in many respects. But,
They had a lot to
I
introduce,
loved
a lot to reintroduce.
it was pathos where it needed to be, I suppose.
Before we get away from the canteen and the Citadel,
Yeah.
one gripe I have with Mads, right? Half the bloody galaxy is looking for Luke Skywalker. If you've got his lightsaber, don't just leave it in a box in your
Yeah.
basement. Fucking lock it up. Just in down a little tunnel. Anyone could have gone and got that. Just because they don't happen to know it's there, doesn't mean it's gonna. She just opened that bloody thing up.
Would anyone have been able to get in the box, or was it Ray? Only Ray could have opened the box to get in there.
Then Maz would have been like, "How did you get in my box that I sealed with magic?"
But Maz knows who Ray is, assumedly.
She was like, "That lightsaber is cool to you. I've had that for 1,000 years or whatever." But yeah,
No, not that.
lock it up.
I'd have
Lock
been
it up.
interested
It's
to see
Luke
what other
Skywalker's
artifacts she
lightsaber.
had as well.
I'm sure if you pause that scene when you see the room, there's probably a dozen other things in there in the background that have some sort of relevance.
Probably Boba Fett's armor hiding around in there or something
So,
like that.
or his
Or
blasters or
Shoot
something.
up.
Yeah.
So that's characters.
Otherwise, she was cool.
Oh, there's one more character
Oh,
I'm
go on.
interested in.
Traitor.
Oh, the stormtrooper with the
stun
the
bat.
say it is,
baton.
the baton. He's got a little bit of a following online now. Like people are like, who is he? Who's his character? Oh, he's like my new favourite. Like,
He was awesome. That was a great
fight.
Yeah, it was.
And the way Finn gets rid of him, like I actually gasped when he did it. It's the first time you actually see someone use a lightsaber like
Like a knife.
a proper knife
Yeah.
or like an olden day sword. Like grabs the person and drives them into the lightsaber rather than slashing them.
Yeah.
It was a brutal death. I think it's the first person.
Wait,
No, did Finn chop anyone down before then?
No.
Was that the first person?
no,
person.
Finn didn't stab him.
No.
Chewie shot him, or Chewie or Han.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blast him. No,
Finn stabbed someone.
it was
He
right?
just
Yeah.
stabbed the normal
Yeah.
stormtrooper. but-
Doesn't Han shoot him because
With
he's
his
Han
bowcaster.
shoots him with the bowcaster.
because
That's
he's
it.
like, can I use that
Yeah.
in his?
Oh no, he
old
does
man?
it twice. He uses it to dispatch two stormtroopers
Yeah.
with like an explosive blast, and then he's still got the thing, and then
I think it's the first time you fully see the bowcaster
being
in action.
used.
You see it in Jedi, but not to that effect.
Has Han Solo really never asked Chewie to, or
Yeah.
really
Clearly
never had to
not.
use that bowcaster?
Clearly
I
not.
Maybe he's
I've
not
had
had to.
1,000
Maybe he's had a
years.
relatively quiet life since Jedi.
Well,
just
he's
smoking
always
a-
had his blaster. That's what
Stealing
he's
money
known
from
for.
people.
Yeah,
not
Kanja Club. and the rest of it.
Just feel like he knows how powerful it's going to be as well, because Chewie has definitely shot it in front of him before. So why would he be surprised? Oh, that was powerful. Yeah, mate. You've been with Chewie for like 30 years.
It's different seeing someone shoot it and then holding it in your own hands, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Feeling the kickback. You know, a Wookiee ain't gonna feel it that much, but a human, well.
It was cool. It was really cool.
Yeah, that entire scene, like when
I loved it.
the X-wings coming across the lake was
That is
Got a boner.
every time I saw that in the trailer, I got you know, the goosebumps. It's just like
You hear Poe Dameron's the best starfighter in the Resistance, but then you see this shot where it's like it just stays on him and Finn's watching, and Poe Dameron's like, I can't remember the exact number. I think it's 10 people he kills like in that one shot,
nice.
just like effortlessly. It's fucking amazing.
still not as good as Wedge or Luke.
I have a confession about that scene, which I'm not embarrassed to admit because other people have said it. I didn't realise it was Poe Dameron until we got out the X-Wing later.
Fair enough.
I just didn't
He
realise
was like,
it was
who
him.
is that man? Who's
Yeah.
that mysterious,
He's fantastic.
amazing fighter?
Yeah, and I was like, in hindsight and on second watching, it's obvious.
Yeah.
But I didn't clock. And then when he got out the Starfighter later, when they landed back at their base, I was like, oh, that was him.
I love Finn's reaction. What does he say? Something like, "That's one hell of a pilot."
Yeah,
Brilliant.
that was a really good scene. Why did the traitor guy have a stun baton? Why did he put down his gun?
They
He knows that
'Cause
Finn
it
can't
could-
block the shots, can he? He knows that.
That's a
He
very
knows
good point,
that
actually.
if he was in his squad, he knows Finn doesn't know how to use a lightsaber. So
But-
I'm just going to shoot him.
Have lightsabers been around in the time since Jedi? You know, like has anyone used a lightsaber since? So would the stormtroopers actually know the capabilities of it, or maybe they've heard that these lightsabers can bounce back blasters? So he's like, I better not do it.
Also,
Yeah.
stun batons are non-lethal. Maybe they were trying to take him alive.
To see what he knows
Seeing
about
someone
the
with a
Resistance.
lightsaber as well, thinking, hey, this guy might be a fucking Jedi.
Yeah.
Fuck this guy.
Yeah, that's a really good
Yeah.
point.
yeah.
Because that guy would have been a hero, like capturing a received Jedi.
Yeah, that makes so much sense.
And you've got to think, I mean, it's implied from the very first scene, you know, where Finn watches his mate die. You've got to assume the stormtroopers, they're all sort of friends. They've got a bond.
Oh, they're human now. They're
Yeah,
not
exactly.
just these
They're not
drones
just-
anymore.
And
Well, they've grown
he-
up together because they were taken as kids, weren't they?
Yeah.
So they were
And
grown
this
up
guy
together.
with the baton must see Finn as a friend at one point, and that's why it's even more powerful for him to call him out and say traitor now, you know? It's
Yeah.
sort of,
That's
maybe he
brilliant,
doesn't
that's
want to
brilliant.
kill him.
He wants to bring him back.
He wants to bring him back,
He wants
yeah,
to
exactly.
bring him back and break him.
But he does it with great swagger as well. The way he
So
throws
fucking
his shit
good.
down.
That whole bit was cool.
I just love the
Cool
way
as
it
hell.
comes out and then he sort of like does
Like
that weird
swings it
motion
round,
and
yeah.
swings it round, and it's like, oh, fantastic.
That's so cool.
That's actually, I think, a callback to what the stormtroopers were meant to have. They
Though
originally they were meant to have lightsabers,
Yes.
weren't they?
Yeah.
And I think there's versions of Ralph McQuarrie art where they have sort of anti-lightsaber weapons or something.
Well,
I
I mean,
think.
Grievous's bodyguards
Yeah,
had
I mean the
him anyway,
technology's
didn't they?
already
So-
been shown. Yeah,
Yeah.
This
But
is
like
just-
you said, lightsabers have fallen out of use, so they wouldn't really be thinking about it.
exactly.
Except Kylo Ren
But
has a
then
lightsaber.
at the same time, there's the argument that he's put together a task force to capture Jedi. Yes, there's not many left, if any at all, apart from Luke. Obviously, he's a master swordsman with a lightsaber, so you're going to have stuff that's developed specifically to be able to block lightsabers.
I mean,
without you
They must
being
be
a
ready.
lightsaber.
If they ever find Luke Skywalker, they've got to have the equipment with them in case.
I mean, that traitor stormtrooper might have been a Jedi hunter extraordinaire. We don't know
Because science.
because he had his stun baton.
He might have had a really high midichlorian count.
That's
Let's
all that
not go
matters.
there. Let's not go there.
It still exists. It's still canon.
I think it's worth
Jar Jar did it
keeping
all.
that in mind, the whole science thing, because there's a lot in this film that is a bit scientifically dubious.
Okay.
Are you talking
Do
about
you wanna
Starkiller
elaborate?
Base?
The big thing is Starkiller Base, isn't it?
Yeah.
If your weapon,
We'll move on to Starkiller Base. New topic.
here's the biggest gripe I think everyone has with Starkiller Base. If your weapon uses all the energy of the sun, you've already killed everything in that system. So just take the sun and you're done. You don't need to shoot a laser at anyone.
No, but they're not in the same system, are they?
Yeah, but then
he
you-
fired that across the galaxy.
That's
I
two
believe.
birds with one stone.
But at the same time,
That is
it
true.
would take...
That is true.
Efficiency.
He fires
bad
light
science-
faster than light, which is
yeah,
another thing
exactly.
as
Yeah,
well,
that's the bad science of it. He fires something faster than light, and that's just...
This is a galaxy a long time ago, far, far away. Who are we to say what
Right, say that-
technologies
say that
they
That's
the
my
have?
other
point.
way.
That's my point. Is that it's a lot of people try and say, it's not hard sci-fi.
Just 'cause
if
we
anything,
can't
it's
do
sci
it.
fantasy, and you've got to sort of suspend your disbelief for Star Wars and accept that it's not going to be scientifically
Plus,
sort of robust.
it fucking looked amazing.
It did.
It was
So
cool as hell.
who cares?
What was the system they blew up again?
Oh, they did say
It was a core system, but I don't know. I can't remember which one it was.
Yeah, they do
Yeah, it was
mention it. They do
that,
mention
you
it.
know.
It was where the Senate was. It was where the Galactic
It's where the
Senate was.
New Republic was based. Anyway.
Also, Starkiller Base looked phenomenal.
Brilliant.
I thought
It
it
looked
looked
really
incredible.
The sense of scale,
Yeah.
like I've never seen anything like that. You really got the impression that's fucking huge. That thing, without them doing that little
They
model
did
of the
not
Death
need to
Star
do that, did
and the
they?
big Death Star. Right, maybe the kids needed that, but like
Yeah.
you only had to look at that thing and be like, that is massive. That like.
It-
Did
I was
they
just trying to
need
think,
do
how
it?
did they build it? Like the logistics.
Well,
you know?
I suppose in a way it
So-
might be easier to build than a Death Star because you just hollow out
Yeah,
what's already
I
there
guess so.
rather than build a space station.
I loved the just the visuals of the intake, the way it was
yeah,
like just
sucked in the
just
How
stripping
close is it to the
sun.
sun that you can absorb energy across?
Amazing.
Let's not get into the science of it.
My biggest sort of like, oh my god moment for that was when they actually launched it. You know, like they've got the whole General Hux giving his speech thing. They all just turn around 180 and look at it. Like I don't know what you'd sort of like
Just it filling the sky.
compare that to, but it literally filled the sky because it's coming out of the ground in front of them, and the trees are getting blasted because of the heat, and then
They were quite close to the weapon
Yeah.
when it went off. You got a whole planet to make your speech, and they do it like a couple miles away from
worry about
their
it.
giant laser.
don't worry about that.
They want the light show.
And then
That's true.
Kylo Ren's picked his
It's all about
spot. He's
display
like,
of
I
power.
want to watch it from over here. It just goes across. And then we cut to, for the first time, we actually see it from the point of view of the people that are actually going to get fucking killed. When I saw that, I was like,
Well, some of the people
Jesus
watching
Christ.
it were,
This
were
must
on
be-
the other planet.
Yeah,
huh?
Some of the people watching it
we're on
Yeah,
other
yeah,
planets.
yeah.
were on.
But like you hear the screams
Maz's
and people going, oh my God, like, what is this? It's the First Order. We're all fucked. Like, before it, you only ever saw Alderaan get destroyed.
Yeah.
And you don't see anyone on the ground before that. It's literally
No.
just this orb that gets blown up, and you know people are on it, but there's no sort of weight to it. For this, it's just like, yeah,
Shit,
thinking
people
about
die.
it, that would be terrifying. Like,
Again,
and
though,
you
we
actually
still,
see
didn't,
it.
we still didn't know
Whatsoever.
anyone on the planet.
you didn't know anyone, but like, there's something
It
about
made
that.
it made it more real.
You put yourself in that. Then, if you don't know the characters, you sort of go, I
It
could.
was horrible,
any of us
especially
could
seeing
be-
like the cities. You know,
Yeah.
it was clearly developed worlds with billions
Yeah.
of people on it.
And they just took them all out with no warning, no time to retaliate, in the blink of an eye. Fantastic. People criticise Starkiller Base for being Death Star free, but like,
It was done.
It worked well.
Third time's
How-
a charm.
yeah,
Well,
Well,
what do you
if you
think
could
about
do
it?
it,
What
like-
else could you add? A point that people bring up is that maybe it would make more sense for them to have just a big, powerful fleet. But then they make a big point that the Republic's got a big, powerful fleet as
Yeah.
well. So that wouldn't. It needs to be something
this is the nuke
hidden.
of Star Wars,
yeah, it's
isn't
like
it?
a hidden
Like,
thing,
if-
like
you
a
know.
long distance weapon.
They should have made the Star Killer.
Star-
Not Star Killer Base, but the actual Star Killer. Or no, not Star Killer, Sun Crusher. Even
it was a sun crusher though, wasn't it? Like basically, it destroys the sun that it's
no, it
next
doesn't
to.
destroy the sun. It just absorbs energy from the sun.
But then it
Yeah, but it
uses
absorbs
it.
the whole sun.
It uses the sun.
Oh, did it actually
Yeah.
absorb the whole?
That's
That was
why.
the big
That's
plot
why it
point,
went
was the
from
sun
day to
went
night.
out.
It went from day to night, and then the scene where Kylo Ren and Han Solo are on the walkway. Kylo Ren is looking out the window behind Han Solo, and he can see the last remnants of the sun. And then when the sun goes, when the
Kylo
sun
Ren.
goes
That's when he
completely,
goes-
Kylo Ren knows, nothing will stand in our way. Like that's it. This is the sort of moment to do what I was.
Oh, I didn't realise.
yeah.
I don't like the neck run then.
I must admit, I did only notice it the second time I watched it because I weren't really paying much attention to it. But like, they definitely get across that they've destroyed that sun. They've used it up.
If they hadn't have blown up Starkiller Base, it's still kind of a one-shot weapon, isn't it? Like once the sun's
no,
gone,
I heard. I don't know what the source of this is, but the idea is that thing can move, like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Death Star moves. They can move it because there's no longer a sun to tether it to that gravitational pull.
right? But you can't just propel a planet.
No, but they've got the apparatus to, like
Yeah.
the Death Star could move.
It has to be right. It has to be like a movable weapon.
Yeah,
And
And
that would be
I think
an
it
nod
is.
to expanded universe. With,
Yeah.
there's a planet in the expanded universe that can move on its own
Like all planets. Or you mean just without a gravitation?
without a gravitational. It actually
And
moves
it's like a
itself.
mechanical thing that.
No. It's a biological thing that it can. adjust its alter.
Has it got loads of
It's got a
midichlorians?
lot of midichlorians.
It's like the highest midichlorians ever.
Starkiller Base is also more successful than both the two Death Stars combined.
Yes.
Yeah, much higher kill count.
Yeah, so
There was no let's try it out. It was like,
just fucking do it.
we built this
What's
to
that?
destroy the Republic. There's the Republic. Let's fucking do it.
It
with
was a
our
huge
first shot.
success.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah, it was
success.
blown up
From-
too late. It's already done its
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
Who else are they going to shoot with?
I mean, they was aiming at the planet with the rebellion on it, or the resistance, whatever you want to call them. But
And they took a bit of collateral with them, so
fantastic.
top going.
I've got no criticism.
No,
for
I don't. I
Starkiller
love the
Base.
Starkiller
It was cool.
Base.
It was cool,
And
and it
what
was
I-
beautiful.
It was.
I love that. I didn't really notice, which is weird because I watched it, but I didn't really sort of pay attention the first time I watched it. But the second time, I realised they're redoing the trench run,
Yeah, yeah. Oh man,
Yeah,
and then Poe goes into the crack,
incredible.
and it's a bit like Return of the Jedi, where he goes into the middle of the Death Star 2 and flies around, and you get to see the inside space, and then does his damage and flies back out again. Fantastic.
By that point, though, were you surprised that they were just doing A New Hope again? 'Cause
No, I wasn't,
This film is
but-
like beat for beat, basically
Okay.
the same film.
Next topic.
Is that it? Is that the next topic?
It's relevant to what you just
Yeah.
said. How do we feel about the story?
I liked it.
Right. This nods back to
This is
what
a
we
big
were
point of
talking about,
contention.
in the
In the
second,
others, yeah.
in the
Mhm.
second or whatever was it? Yeah, the end of the second one we did, where we were talking about hopes for the new film, and you said about hoping it was a new story. It wasn't going to rehash all old.
I didn't mean the same thing though. With that, I meant I hope they don't just do like the same type of droids, the same type of aliens, the same type of characters. I hope they show the greater diversity.
Yeah.
What they did was the opposite. They had a whole bunch of new types of people with the exact same story happening over again.
Is
And
it
I
the
guess
exact same story though?
It
There's a
isn't.
lot of similar beats and settings and scenarios,
It
but is it the
follows-
same story?
It follows the same storyline.
I've kind of got the feeling it was kind of done on purpose, because obviously
It definitely was. It's
this
too
is now a new set of films. It's going to be appealing to a new audience as well as the old, but this will also, I mean, like for kids nowadays, if they've seen this and not seen the old films, they're going to love this.
I watched the film the second time with someone who's never seen a Star Wars film before.
Did they love
They
it?
liked it.
They loved it.
Well, now when they go back to watch the original, even like A New Hope. I mean, if you was to show someone our age nowadays, tell them to go back and watch it. I don't know. I feel a big part of it is growing up with Star Wars. Having
Oh yeah, you to get the most out of this film. You absolutely need some sort of
but-
nostalgia brought in with you.
but I'm saying this might be helping new fans to Star Wars now get into the old
oh yeah,
ones.
definitely.
Yeah.
He said he'll go
'Cause-
back and rewatch watch the old ones. So
I think this is like a reverse sort of transition to help people get into the mindset of like A New Hope, the old, like the original trilogy, and then they
Okay.
can do whatever they
But
want.
surely then the best thing to do then is to show the repercussions, show that there's obviously a lot that's happened before that informs this film. Whereas this film is Force Awakens is kind of trying to recapture New Hope and create a new Hope. Whereas
think
I
you-
that's-
sort of disagree with that to a certain extent. Like I see that it's trying to get new people on board, but at the same token, it's like this is very much showing the aftermath of what's happened with the Empire, because the First Order is literally spawned out of the Empire, what was left of it. Kylo Ren wouldn't have become Kylo Ren if Darth Vader hadn't come before him.
Yeah, right. And I suppose the original
The Jedi,
trilogy,
yeah,
the original trio.
the original trio, they're split up. There's only one Jedi. It's absolutely, which is why I didn't think he would appreciate watching this first, because I thought, how can you understand the context for any of this without having seen at least the original trilogy? Because this is absolutely like follow on, you know. All right, it's set 30 odd years afterwards, but
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a rehashing of A New Hope. I mean, I can see there are similarities,
no.
but I do think that there is
there's
similarities.
definitely boxes being ticked where it's like, right, snow planet,
Orphan
forest
in the
planet,
desert.
sand planet.
There's a big
Their
fan
mentor
service.
dies.
Yeah,
There's
There's a
big
giant-
fan
but-
service,
yeah.
yeah.
Is that also reparations for the shit trilogy?
yeah. The very first line of this film is Max von Sydow saying, "This will begin to make things right," which is in the context of the film is true,
Poetic.
and in the context of our world, the real world, this is sort of the filmmaker's way, maybe consciously, unconsciously, saying, you know, this is sort of us coming back to former glory. Like,
I don't think
this will bring Star Wars back.
That's interesting.
I think it'd be
yeah.
very unprofessional for J.J. Abrams to ever imply that the half of the franchise that he's building on is crap.
He didn't say.
None of them, the production team would never make any official statement saying any of those original films are bad, and the prequel trilogy.
They wouldn't
is bad.
officially say it, no. But they've just said a character in this fictional film has said this will begin to make things right. And you could read that on the surface level of him handing the map over to Poe Dameron, or you could read it from the meta standpoint of, oh, they're saying sorry for the prequel trilogy, or they're admitting that the prequel trilogy is not as good as what people hoped.
I think it's
This
good
will
to read
begin
that
to
way,
make
but that's
things
such
right.
that's such a risk to do
It's an interesting
from a sort of professional standpoint.
interesting view on meta, and also there was the rumor going around that Disney is no longer not acknowledging the prequel trilogy.
I mean, they are. They're not at the
it is
moment.
canon, but they're not acknowledging it.
They're still cashing in on all the merchandise at the end of
Yes.
the day, so they won't ever get rid of it completely
No.
because it has a monetary value to them. But are they going to make many references to it? Probably not. And to be honest, I was thinking about this again for my friend who's never seen any Star Wars films. I was thinking, does he have to cram all 6 films in before he watches it? No, he doesn't. He only has to watch the original trilogy because there's no references made to anything prior to A New Hope.
No.
There's little nods if you're looking for it, but are there any beats that sort of carry on and have echoes from the prequel trilogy? No, there isn't.
Nothing.
Disney are just distancing themselves from the stigma
They're
of...
distance
Because they were unsuccessful and they
Can't
hate
say
it,
the
so
word.
they couldn't. They have to.
Yeah, they're distancing. They're sort of getting away from the prequel trilogy, but having their cake and eat it at the same time. They're more than happy to
People to
get
still buy it.
revenue
Yeah.
from Darth Maul toys, but at the same time, we're not going to go back to that. As far as we're going to go back, it's going to be like end of Episode 3, beginning of Episode 4 era at the most. I can't see them doing a spin-off film set during the Clone Wars again,
No.
or before that.
You're right. They will just
No.
ignore it. I don't think they'll ever formally denounce it or anything like that.
I mean,
They're just not going to.
It's just good business.
The closest thing that Disney have done is Rebels, and it takes
Between 3 and 4,
characters, a couple of characters from
Clone Wars.
the Clone Wars, and throws them in.
Which is fine,
However
because
many
kids are their
years
biggest
later.
demographic right now.
Yes.
They need,
So that's worked for them.
I honestly think, from my point of view, that's what that line means. Like, it's just so because it's a character that says it in the film, they could just sort of claim, oh, we didn't mean it like that, and that's all there is to it. There's no official statement of Bob Iger of Disney coming out and saying we thought the prequel trilogy was shit. There's none of that.
They'll also never acknowledge. They would never even comment on that line either way. They would never say one or the other.
They'll answer with a wry smile. They know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They know the real answer.
It could just be people reading into nothing as well. Could be.
Yeah.
Could.
Yeah.
I live in hope.
So, your friend wasn't confused at all by Leia and Han.
He had questions, sure, but that just makes him want to go back and watch the old one.
So it was enough to create intrigue, but not to completely invalidate the plot because he didn't get what was going on.
He wasn't turning to me and being like, "What the fuck's going on?" Which to
I
me
suppose
is
that wasn't really the main focus of the film. That relationship, anyway,
No.
was it? It was it was almost just in the background. It was more about the development of Rey and Finn.
I think.
Yeah.
I was trying to sort of as much as I could forget the other films, trying to watch it from his point of view and being like, if you saw these two people come up to each other and have that awkward exchange, would you assume that they've had a previous relationship? Probably, yeah. Especially since they talk about their son. It's
Absolutely.
That's all there is to it.
They kind of before they even meet, they kind of allude heavily to it with Han saying, she doesn't want to talk to me or this sort of stuff. You get the sense that there's tension there.
And the gaps that aren't explained, because Star Wars is such a big part of our social consciousness anyway, when Kylo Ren's talking to the Darth Vader helmet, my friend knew it was Darth Vader's helmet. There was no explanation needed, because you know who Darth Vader is. Everyone does, you know. It was. Bottom line, there's a lot of similarities. It is a sort of soft reboot, in the sense that it feels familiar enough to make old fans feel validated,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, it does welcome new people who have never had any previous experience with Star Wars before. So on that level, like, I think the story was pretty.
Yeah, I loved it.
There's a few things I would have liked, a few more scenes with characters to get fleshed out. Like, I would have liked to see Captain Phasma get a proper end. Maz Kanata sort of disappeared as well after the attack. But
I think you saw her fleeing with the Resistance. Didn't you? She
goes
hopped
off,
on one of their ships.
She goes off to rebuild,
but
or something along those lines.
you know, we've got 2 more
Rebuilding the pod
films.
racing track.
She's like, right, fuck this. I'm
taking
just
my
going to be.
flags that I've recovered.
We've got
Something worth noting with her is they mentioned that she's had that citadel for 1,000 years, and so it's quite a sad thing when it gets destroyed
yeah.
because 1,000 years she's been running there, and it's just like completely demolished.
She's meant to be a pirate as well. That was never really sort of
Oh, really?
played up. Yeah,
Is that
She's got
supposed
the
to
treasure chests?
makes so much sense now?
That's a story for another time.
That's why she's got the awesome goggles for the splashing sea, like the water in her
Space
eyes.
spray.
Yeah, the spray from the.
Space spray.
It makes sense now.
Okay, let's move on. Sad topic. How do we feel about Han Solo's death? The way it was dealt with, what it means to you on a personal level, what was your reaction to seeing it? Did you expect it?
Now, before I saw the film, it was spoiled for me.
Oh my god.
Oh, boo.
And I didn't believe it. I was like, no, that can't be right. And then I said to someone, like, offhand, like, does that happen? And they confirmed it. And I was like,
Why would they confirm it?
I was like, it's been spoiled for me now.
Yeah.
It's always going to be in my mind.
Yeah.
And I was watching the film, and I knew it was going to happen, but I still didn't see it happening. It blindsided me.
At what point? Oh,
So
so
it blindsided you.
Oh, okay.
You thought he was going to get taken out in the first minute.
I knew the second he got on that walkway, he was doomed. You know,
So I
I was
that's
thinking
where
it.
I knew that was. I knew that's when it was going to happen.
it didn't make it any less effective when
No.
it happened, though. But there's definitely a bit of foreshadowing going on. I think.
A friend of mine saw it happen 5 minutes before it happened, because you know when he hands,
Sounds like a bad edit
he
of
says
that film.
he says to Chewie, "Here's the detonator."
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Why
said that.
why would you hand the only detonator to a secondary character if you're not going to be killed?
Yeah.
For a lot of people, that was the point. That
Yeah.
was the. It's the sort of classic kind of TV and film move is to have this kind of point of no return where it kind of telegraphs that they're about to die, but you're setting up their death.
Yeah.
And Han Solo is playing the Obi-Wan role in this film.
Yes.
Obi-Wan sacrificed himself. He's the.
I don't. He doesn't go to sacrifice himself. He goes there to.
I saw that more of a Darth Vader Luke scene.
Yeah.
The whole "I am your father."
Sort of say that, yeah.
That's how I saw that. But during that, when like he was handing over the lightsaber, I was like, "No, he ain't gonna die here yet." And I was like, "No, he's not gonna die here."
Denial.
It was, and I knew it was happening, and I just wouldn't accept it. And then it happened. I was like,
And then when the sun goes out, and
"Fuck!"
it just
It was
brutal.
it sucked.
I almost shed a tear. That's how emotional
Yeah, Christ, I was.
Even though it was going to happen,
I knew it.
you were
Yeah,
still affected by it.
and I refused to believe it was happening, and then it did, and I was just like,
I don't normally react this viscerally when I see something like that happen in the film, but like when he died, I don't know what it was. I just started shaking. I didn't cry or anything. I had like almost shock. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
It was weird.
Yeah, no, I can understand.
Even
that.
though I knew it was coming, I was sort of surprised that they did it at the same time.
Yeah,
and the way it
absolutely.
was done
Yeah.
and who did it to him and and how unceremoniously he just fell. Like
Yeah,
Well, it's a good thing
It
that was the
doesn't-
only part of Starkiller Base that didn't have handrails.
it didn't matter that he was
Yeah.
Han Solo. He still went down
Still
like a bit of a
flopped,
punk,
yeah.
you know, like the rest of
Went out
them.
like a punk.
You know.
Yeah, he just faded away. It was a bit like It was even less glorious than Gandalf.
Yeah.
Which is basically the same thing, where he just like flopped into the darkness.
Maybe Han Solo will come back all in white in the next film.
That'd be- I am Han the White.
I am Han as I should be.
I am Han Duo. Now
Oh,
he's
yeah,
got two blasters.
Solo. That's what we used to call him.
yeah, it was tough to swallow.
Yeah, it was
Even though I
horrible.
knew it was coming, it was
It was very horrible.
That was one of the few scenes I really like. I really don't like having these thoughts when you watch a film because no matter how you kind of say this stuff, it always comes across as quite snobbish and being like, oh, you know, this film could have been better. But that was one of the scenes where the moment it was over, I was just like, man, that could have been executed a lot better than it was. For one, it just felt too slow, and the final scene is something in that same category where it just cut between them too often, and it was like it built up this moment of anticipation because as they were both sort of grasping the lightsaber, it was very much a willy won't he moment. Like he's got the perfect position to kill Han Solo now. This is like a make or break moment. It sets up that tension, and then it just drags it out for too long until it actually happens.
I don't know.
It just seemed to go on forever.
I felt tense throughout, like, especially if you watch it again, because second time watching it, I'm seeing Kylo Ren's clearly looking to make sure that the sun's gone as well at the same time. So he's sort of like dragging it out longer than it needs to be. He might even, from a character standpoint, still be up to the very last second having second thoughts about whether he's going to go ahead and do what because Snoke says to him, you're going to be faced with a task that basically barely anyone will be able to accomplish. Something even Vader couldn't do. Like, Vader had sentiment for Luke, which is why he ultimately failed the Empire. Kylo Ren has, by doing that, made himself better than Darth Vader, at least in his mind, because he hasn't been held back by, sentiment towards his family.
Yeah.
So I just think during that scene, even though it does cut back and forth, I'm just thinking, what's going on in his head? He must be going back and forth a million times. It's supposed to show that inner
turmoil, isn't it? But it just, I don't know, like I said, I really don't like to say it, but it just stood out as one of a couple of scenes, like I said earlier, that you watch it and you just feel like, wow, they could have done that a lot better. Even though it was really effective, in order for it to have that kind of, the impact that they clearly wanted it to have, the execution was just off. And I hate saying that, but it really stood out for me as that sort of scene.
Another way you could look at it is, because you don't have a lot of time to sort of mourn him afterwards, because the story moves on quick, because it has to, because space is about to destroy another planet. Maybe you start mourning him dying before it happens. They've given you a bit of time to sort of like, he's going to die now, like, say goodbye, because they don't really address it that much afterwards.
No.
They barely do. It's like it's like a little hug. They don't even... Leia doesn't even hug Chewbacca, man. Chewbacca has been with Han longer than any of them. Yeah. And then she literally just walks past him.
I think that's possibly because Chewie knows that he's failed. He has a sworn duty to protect Han and his family. And in that instance, he's failed completely.
Yeah, but why wouldn't Leia comfort him? She literally blanks him. She just walks past and hugs Rey. It's like, Rey's known him for about an hour.
Would Han Solo have wanted everyone to sort of mope about after he died? No. He's a smuggler. He could have died at any moment in those 30 years. Maybe Chewbacca knows, because he's been with him basically most of his life. At least most of Han Solo's life. He wouldn't want us to mope about. He died for the mission. He saved a lot of people in the process. He died a hero's death in many ways.
I suppose, yeah.
I don't know. There's so many... This is why I love this film, because it's sort of what you bring into it at the same time.
There's so many different takes you can have on it.
Unlike the prequel trilogy, it's not thrown in your face, this is what you're meant to feel, this is what you're meant to think. There's a lot of, there's a lot of room for you to interpret things differently.
Absolutely.
I'm just a little bit disappointed we won't get to see him and Rey piloting the Falcon again, because I thought that was brilliant when they were...
But we might still see Han Solo, because he's meant to be in Episode 8, at least in a flashback sequence, with Max von Sydow, who also died. So maybe there's going to be a flashback sequence which explains Rey's origin, or something.
It would just be him saying, "Hello, Han Solo."
Or the moment Kylo...
I see you've brought your son, Ben.
Or we'll see Kylo Ren as a young child take down Luke's Jedi Academy.
Well, you see
Han Solo and Lars von Trier. No,
Lars von Trier.
Jesus, what's Max von Sydow's character?
I don't actually know.
Whatever his name is,
much into
it's something like that. Maybe there's going to be a flashback with Han Solo, him watching Kylo Ren and dealing with the aftermath of what he's done.
Because you do get that little bit of flashback
She picks up the lightsaber.
When she picks up the lightsaber, seeing Kylo Ren killing off the last of the Jedi students.
I read that differently. I've watched a lot of theory videos basically since this film's come out, and if you watch it very closely, this might be a spoiler for Episode 8 and for where Kylo Ren is going and his relationship to Rey, but Rey's vision, she's on the ground looking up, and she sees what looks like one of the Knights of Ren with Kylo Ren's lightsaber getting driven through them. So it looks like that Knight of Ren was about to kill Rey, and Kylo Ren stopped that person from killing him, from killing her.
Okay.
Which obviously it's over so quick, you don't really have time to think about it. But because we live in this world of internet videos and theories and all that, you've got,
people that are going to analyse it.
Yeah,
I thought it was a series of visions anyway.
There's lots
it was
of
a
things.
whole bunch of.
Let's talk about
things
them if you want. Should we talk about them?
I can't really remember them.
There's
dialogue from Yoda.
There's dialogue from Yoda. There's
dialogue from Obi-Wan as well.
Cloud City.
Old Obi-Wan and new, and
you see
Ewan McGregor.
You see the play between Vader and Luke in Cloud City, because obviously that's where the lightsaber gets
you
lost.
hear Luke go no or something. I think
that's when he gets
his
gets
hand
chopped off, and obviously that's when the lightsaber goes. But other than that, I don't remember much of the vision, because
it's very quick.
It's an assault on your vision.
I was just looking for this stuff a second time round because I knew, I've watched all the videos, so I was like, right, I'm going to pay attention this time. And I definitely noticed some strange stuff that could hint to where everything's heading.
Okay.
I mean, they're going to have to. They're not going to ignore those visions. They're supposed to be a kind of
premonition.
What's up next?
Exactly. Yeah. What's happened and what will happen.
Like you said, though, they were over so quick that I think unless you've seen like a breakdown of them, it's hard to even remember just flashes of images. It's hard to remember what it really contained.
Maybe that's deliberate. Maybe it's to get people to go watch it more than once. It's probably worked. That's a cynical way of looking at it anyway. Okay, next thing. Who do we think Supreme Leader Snoke will be? Or who do we think he is?
From the looks of his silhouette, he's a member of the banking clan, a race called the Muns. M-U-U-N.
His head isn't the same shape though.
That's.
But his head is scarred and disfigured.
Yeah.
So whether. Wait, the Muns, the ones with the long necks, with the bulbous heads on top, very pale complexion.
They're in Attack of the Clones. There's one in Attack of the Clones.
There's one in the Jedi Council, isn't there?
Yeah.
Oh, is there?
There's a guy with a long neck.
There's one in the Separatist.
Are they really just going to use an existing alien when they've introduced so many new aliens?
Well, they're probably not. It's probably not. It's just one of those. It's the closest silhouette to.
I mean, that's just a projection. I mean, we don't even know if that's what he looks like. That's quite an
Maybe
intimidating.
Maybe he'd seen Harry Potter and he was like, this Voldemort guy's a bit scary. I'll just be a big version of him.
Assuming he is what he looks like, he could well be Darth Plagueis, which is the biggest thing going around.
Theory, yeah.
And even though he doesn't look like a Mun, you've got to remember Darth Plagueis is only a Mun in the expanded universe / Legends, which is no longer canon. So they've opened themselves to have Darth Plagueis be any species of alien they want.
Mm-hmm.
And they're clearly not going to go any route that's already been in a comic or a book, because they don't want any, and then they're never going to hint towards that, because they don't want people that have read those books to know what's about to happen.
Exactly.
They want it to be a new story.
Yeah, no, I mean, in expanded universe, Plagueis doesn't come back. He is dead, as opposed to just dead. Whereas the Emperor, spoilers, has lots of clones.
Yeah.
It's not him.
Yeah.
But in the expanded universe, he has lots of clones, and he does cheat death on a number of occasions.
Some people have read Darth Plagueis cheating death as he's able to create life, so he cheats death that way, having a child basically. And some people have theorised to say that Darth Plagueis, before he died, created Anakin, and that's why he doesn't have a father.
That's an interesting theory.
Which we'll get onto a theory later that I want to talk about.
Beard stroking the thoughting.
Will I sound like a cunt
No,
saying,
never. You never sound like a cunt, Alex.
Thank you.
Every
That's
word
really
that
nice
comes
to-
out of his
yeah.
mouth.
when I first saw Snoke, I was like, why the fuck is there a goddamn giant? I didn't, because he doesn't look like a projection at first.
Mm.
And I was sitting there like,
That's the point.
yeah, I was like, why are they putting a fucking giant in? Like, this isn't a fair
I
fight.
loved it.
How big would his
I-
lightsaber be? Just
Yeah.
wheeled Starkiller base, just swinging that around.
I was kind of angry seeing that. I was like, this is stupid as hell. And then he vanished. I was like, this is alright then.
I think that's the reaction they wanted. They wanted it to be a curveball because you've never seen anyone really bigger than slightly above average human.
I mean, when they finally reveal him, he's probably going to be either normal height or he's going to be 2 feet tall.
He can't be tiny.
Like-
That would be ridiculous if he's like Yoda.
No.
But he's all hunched up, so he's clearly not in the best of health.
It looks like he's been fucked over.
In the
Chopped up.
novelisation, which is canon, I think,
got me.
it contains bits of dialogue and scenes that were cut out of the film. And there's a bit where he's talking to Kylo Ren, and he says he's lived old enough to see the Clone Wars and the rise and fall of the Empire. So you assume he's been around for a long time, in the background at least, watching all of this.
100 years
unfold.
plus.
Yeah.
Then
Oh shit. It's Jar Jar Binks, obviously.
Well,
That's why he's
obviously.
all cut up because he was like, people are going to recognise this.
He's
dumb
cut his
face.
ears off.
Yeah, he's like
Cut his eye stalks off, pushed him into his
Yeah.
fucking head, yeah. Cut his stupid bill off,
how the
stuffed it into his head.
why?
That'd be. I'd love it. That'd be
No.
fantastic. That'd be fantastic.
We have to mention Jar Jar
Absolutely
Binks at least once
shit.
in this episode to complete our own Darth Jar Jar trilogy of
Okay,
episodes that
that's
we've been
3
doing.
times.
That'd be brilliant. I mean, it could just be a whole new guy.
He could be a whole new guy. Some people have said he's Anakin Skywalker come back.
No.
Stupid.
He was cremated.
I mean, you saw the
His
state of
suit,
his
his
helmet.
suit was cremated.
Yeah.
And we do. This is a
They're
universe
not
of
just.
clones.
They can't just keep reusing the same damn character.
Wait,
I'm not saying it is, but look, this is just a theory.
Is that what happens at the end of Return of the Jedi then? They just cremate his suit. Why not the fucking body as
No,
well?
he gets cremated.
Oh, good. Right.
At the end of Jedi.
What?
He kind of does look like a burn victim. Well, fucking Snoke, so it could
Well, you
be.
see his
People
Force
have-
ghost as well, so he definitely officially
He's
died.
definitely dead.
Yeah, absolutely.
Could have come back. That's what I'm saying.
I mean,
Ridiculous.
is it really going to be some big twist with every character?
I honestly don't think it is Darth Vader, but I'm just saying some people have
I reckon
really taken this Snoke thing.
the
and
best
ran
story
with
they
it.
could do would to be a really powerful Sith Lord or a powerful Sith that has kept himself hidden throughout all the other Star Wars films and has been just watching it all unfold and has waited for this moment to rise back to power. He's watched everyone else come and go, and taken this opportunity when the galaxy is weak to really take over because he's, I don't know, more powerful than anyone before.
That's a good theory.
Is he a Sith or is he a Jedi that survived Order 66 and has been turned to the dark side, but not necessarily a Sith? You need to be trained to be a Sith, no? Who would his master be? There'd be no one to be his master. He might be a self-taught new branch of Force user that's neither Jedi
Yeah.
nor Sith.
Perhaps more formidable than both.
But he said he's been around long enough to see all these things, so clearly he was around at the time of the
So
Sith.
maybe he
Yeah.
was a pupil of Plagueis as well,
Possible.
but not
What would be
the-
interesting
not
is
the
if
Sith.
he. No, sorry.
That's right. That's
What would be interesting if he was like just someone who is hidden in plain sight.
Like Jar Jar.
No, god damn it. Just someone who's
Put him
like
to bed.
Like Boss Nass.
What was that?
Like Boss Nass.
That's nice.
It was him the whole time.
It's Watto, clearly.
Mind Tricks done the work on me.
Which
That's
could
why they
spell
don't
the
work.
return of
Because he's a
Pirate.
Sith Lord.
Only money.
But yeah, if he was someone we've seen before and we were all just like jaw drop moment, like fuck this guy, we've seen him before.
But how many jaw drop moments have they set up already? With the like, Luke, why did he leave? You know, who is Rey? All this sort of stuff. Like what happened to Kylo Ren? There's so many potential twists already. Does everything have to be a twist?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's true.
In Star
Oh,
Wars,
wait,
it's
this
usually
isn't-
a twist.
The moment they had, no, Luke, I am your father. They're like, this is it. This is what we've we've made our bed. We've got to lie in it. We are the film full of twists.
This is not
The
an
mystery
M. Night
surrounding him,
Shyamalan
though.
film.
Is enticing. I'm interested.
Yeah.
So we've teased, we've sort of, I don't know, we've touched on it, but we've not actually spoken about it
Occasionally,
properly.
like
Well,
foreplay.
actually, 1 second. I've just had a weird idea about Snoke.
Go on.
What if it's something that General Hux is using to try and like rein in Kylo Ren?
I like
Because
that.
it's just a projection.
I like that.
Maybe. Ooh, he could be.
Hux does speak individually to the projection,
yeah,
doesn't
but
it?
that's when Kylo Ren's with him, isn't it?
No, there's a bit where
No,
he
there's-
speaks on his own and he
Oh,
says,
okay,
"Bring
nice.
Kylo Ren."
Bring
Oh,
Kylo
course,
Ren.
yeah.
Kylo Ren.
I will
He
sort
doesn't say it like that.
That'd be so. He does say
Snoke doesn't say it like that.
no, but that's obviously how you pronounce his name because that's the first time it's pronounced. On a side note, there's quite a few instances in this film of different pronunciations for different things. Some people call the planet Jakku. Some people call it Jakku. And I say there's quite a few. That's the only one I could think of, and I just wanted to say Jakku.
Brilliant. Who do we think Rey is? Whose child do we think she is?
On a second watch, it was quite clear that it's not Han and Leia's son,
No.
daughter. Could be son. Who knows?
No, it's definitely. She's definitely
It's
not.
clear because of the way they interact with her. They like it's a child they never knew they had. How do you know how's that going to happen?
I'm gonna get to that.
Or they're deliberately putting on a huge act to act like they don't know who she is for no real reason.
Nah, yeah, she's not. She's not theirs. But
Okay, so here's some theories.
Yeah, sorry.
Shall I go for the crazy theories first and
Yeah,
then sort of work
let's
our
hear
way
it.
back to the more plausible
I had
ones?
my own watching this the second time. I think my own idea about what would be a really good origin. So I'm really hoping it's in there.
Okay. Let me know if it
If not,
if
I'd
it
like to-
arises.
Slip that into the pool.
I can't remember what evidence someone gave for this, but there's a group of people that think that this could be a relative of Palpatine.
Right.
Okay.
Don't know why. One that's sort of gained a bit more traction, Obi-Wan's granddaughter.
Who did he bang?
Well, yeah, that's an interesting
Obi-Wan and
one.
Jar Jar.
What did
We
he
don't
do
know if
in
Jar
those
Jar-
20 odd years between episode 3 and episode 4?
Get old. That's what he does.
That's why she likes
Get
Desert
old
Planet
and
so
bang.
much as well.
Exactly.
No, he's too busy, like out in the desert, screaming at kraut dragons.
Quiet
Quiet
dragons.
Yeah, he ain't pulling chicks for that.
Fair enough. Again,
That'd be a good one.
some people have said she could be Anakin reincarnated, given a second chance to make.
People need to give up.
repent.
Stupid.
No,
Anakin's
stupid.
just been drop kicked out the park.
Okay.
They've tried so hard. When they made this film, they clearly were like the production team and J.J. Abrams and the writers. They looked at the existing Star Wars. They looked at the prequel trilogy, the original trilogy. There were very clear public opinions about both, and they've clearly analysed what made the prequel trilogy so unpopular and what made the original so popular. And that's why they've lent so heavily on the imagery, the motifs, and the structure of the original trilogy, and ignored the prequels. One of the worst things about the prequels was Anakin. They're not gonna bring that back when they know they've veered so hard away from all the rest of the prequel and why it was so unpopular.
Anakin's in all 6 films. He's Darth Vader.
Yeah, but he's in a way he's two separate characters, right?
Yeah, you've got him
Now
as
3.
Gender bent Anakin. Can you imagine?
Yeah, let's move on from that one. Cause
Right,
that's
we'll move
just
on.
Shit.
Okay. Okay, so maybe you sort of touched on it earlier when you said a child that they never knew they had.
How can you have? You can't pop out a kid and then
Yeah.
immediately forget about it.
Hear me out.
Sorry,
Right.
sorry.
So, Kylo Ren, 30 years prior to Force Awakens, because the actor's roughly 30, he's 30 years old. When
Is
he played
Kylo? No,
it.
Kylo Ren is not supposed to be 30.
I think
No,
he
he's
is.
not.
No way. He's
No.
supposed to be like 18.
He's not.
I think he's meant to be 30.
30.
I don't think he's as young as that, but I don't think he's as old as
he's-
that.
Okay, we'll meet halfway. 25, right?
Yeah, like
Yeah,
mid-20s.
We'll say 25.
He's a bit of an angsty teenager.
Yeah, I suppose
got-
that really makes him feel younger than he is. I suppose mid-20s has got to be.
So he went off the
Tops.
rails. Han and Leia split up. And in the years that they weren't together, Leia had a child. Who's the father, though? There is no father. It's another Force baby. The Force has found another way to try and find a new person to bring balance to the Force, as they did before, canonically, before Episode 1 with Anakin.
I'm not a fan of Force babies.
But it happens. It's part of the... It's part of the...
Force babies is basically like space rape.
Yeah,
like,
but it's part
Space
of the
rape
canon.
by that
And
shitty
it's a
bollocks
bit leaning heavily on the
midichlorian
Jesus metaphor
fucking
as well.
crap.
But it's part of the canon.
Nah.
The Force deliberately created a way to bring balance. It went wrong with Anakin.
Space rape.
Try it again. This time it might go well with Rey.
But what are the proposed reasons for her hiding Rey or abandoning Rey on the planet?
It's an illegitimate child. Maybe she knew Kylo Ren might try and find a sibling because it could be the only thing that could bring him down. So just to take her completely out of the picture, at a very young age, drop her on Jakku. You're going to have a harsh life, but you won't be a target. You know? And then she's got to try and explain this child to Han, you know.
I'll call bollocks on that one.
Okay.
I think that's reasonably plausible.
We'll see in a couple of years' time.
Maybe not necessarily the Force baby, but the fact that it's an illegitimate child of Leia that she either doesn't want Han to know about, or...
It's just one way of looking at it.
If that's the case, though, it might be... They might have shot themselves in the foot a bit with Rey and Han and Leia and how they will interact with each other in this film. Because if that turns out to be the truth, people will go back and scrutinise those scenes to see if there's any hints that Leia is feeling guilty around Rey or anything like that.
Rey only has one scene with Leia, and that's at the end of the film when she comes off the cruiser and they hug. That's literally the first time they've met. Because,
you're right.
Because Princess Leia only comes into the film after Rey has been kidnapped by Kylo Ren.
Of course.
So they've never actually... And then you could read that moment as Leia recognising, I know you, you're my daughter.
I'm going to pretend I didn't abandon you.
I see it in your eyes.
Yeah, I like that. That's quite a good theory.
Anyway, the one that's probably the most realistic is that she is Luke Skywalker's daughter.
Which is backed up with downloadable content for Battlefront.
Oh, is it?
Yes, there's a scene in it where Kylo Ren, spoiler, says to
in Battlefront.
Rey, I'm sure there's a scene where he says.
Can you play as Kylo Ren in Battlefront?
No.
There's something to do with there's something that exists where he talks to her and he says hello cousin.
All right. I didn't know that. I should look out for that.
You sure you won't get it confused with GTA 4?
Let's go bowling!
Hey, let's go space bowling!
Let's go nerf herding!
See those nice twirling titties?
Yeah,
you're probably just playing GTA 4.
The biggest sort of hints to this are the fact that Obi-Wan calls to her through Luke's lightsaber. Luke's lightsaber calls to Rey. Maz says this lightsaber was Luke Skywalker's and his father's before him. So obviously passing it down to grandchild. And at the finals, during the climactic lightsaber fight, when Kylo Ren has Rey over the cliff, bent back, he says something about the Force, and she's like, the Force. And then Luke Skywalker's theme plays. Now, if you know John Williams' music, each character has their own theme, and Luke Skywalker's theme is very distinctive. It's only used in relation to him, really. So why would John Williams decide to play that bit of music when Rey is having her sort of second Force Awakening? You know? It's very interesting.
I just got goosebumps talking about this.
It seems to
the bit of music
imply it heavily, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So they're either going to go with that or use it as a kind of red herring to really throw a curveball and do something else.
And that would be awesome if they did that.
You were
I'm
saying...
not talking about Jar Jar. Come on, drop that.
You were saying, Max, at the end of the film, the way they look at each other for so long, there's so many things that could be going through their mind when they're having that look. Luke obviously has felt that Han is dead, because you get the impression he's looking over the lake, sort of mourning him, and he turns to Rey.
Maybe he's looking, just being like, "Where did I leave my lightsaber? Was it over there?"
Well, she hands him the lightsaber, and he's like remembering all the things related to that. He can't believe that she found it out of everyone. Oh my god, it could be my daughter. He's sad for what's already happened. He's sad because he knows what's going to have to happen in order for, the First Order to be brought down, for balance to be restored to the Force.
I think Luke knows that's his daughter, and he's realised that he hasn't got her any Christmas presents. And he's like,
it's been like 18 years.
This
And
is really
he's
going
gonna-
to
She's going to have to really
She's
pay...
going to have to carry him around on her back in a backpack, just like he had to do with Yoda.
That's all.
No, you're right.
I think if you're looking for it, there's all the evidence there to suggest that Luke Skywalker is actually Rey's father.
Deadbeat father.
He was just going to the shops to get cigarettes.
He did the most unselfish
Sorry,
thing
death
by
sticks.
dropping
He was
her
going
in
to buy
Jakku.
death sticks.
You don't want
Yeah.
to buy death sticks.
I mean, yeah, and when she was dropped in Jakku, she was like 4. So
Yeah.
This is the first time Luke's seen her grow up. Like grown up. And she grew up well.
And like I said with Leia, if Leia was her mother, you probably instinctively know, especially if you're a Force user, that, oh, that's my spawn,
Yeah, but Leia and Han, neither of them were Force users.
Leia is, though.
Leia's
She's
Force
Force sensitive.
sensitive.
She's
Force
Anakin's.
sensitive because she's
Yeah,
Twin
you just
sister.
never. Yeah, obviously.
The other theory...
Leia also senses Han's death in this film, which is a
Yeah.
proof of that.
Exactly.
She does the classic Star Wars, like, oh, someone died.
I mean, off topic a little bit, people have had problems with why R2-D2 suddenly boots up once Han Solo dies, or when Rey comes
It's
back.
when Rey,
when Rey
they
comes
land,
back.
isn't it? Yeah.
You could read it as, this might be stretching, Han Solo dies, Leia senses it, Luke and Leia are obviously connected as well. Leia is sort of, I don't know, transmitting to
Reaching out
Luke
to him,
that
yeah.
Han is dead, and Luke has a connection with R2-D2, so Luke is the one who goes, come back. Because in the Force vision that Rey has, you see the shot from the trailer with Luke putting his hand on R2-D2. That might be Luke literally going, right, I'm going to shut you off now, and you're not going to come back on until the moment is right. So Luke could easily use the Force, assumedly, to turn R2-D2 back on when the time is right. But anyway, that's just sort of like putting to bed one problem that people had with the film. That I don't think it's a problem.
Doesn't he come back to full power when Rey comes in?
Yeah.
So he could be on standby mode.
He could be,
and if she is Luke's daughter, he could have sensed.
He could have programmed R2 to
Have
come back when
something-
Rey returns. Yeah.
Have something programmed in.
Or even when the other half of the map that's inside of him gets near him, Something as simple
any
and scientific as that, The other theory for Rey, no one's really said this, I've not found this online or anything, this is just like my personal, what I think it could be. Have we stepped on your theory yet?
No,
Max?
not at all, no.
Okay. Do you want to go first? Or...
Well, my theory just basically involves Rey being Luke's daughter and where that could go. But to be honest, it's more to do with what the plot of the next film will be rather than her origin. So we'll
get
into
to that.
Yeah, we'll talk
definitely
about that
get to
later.
that.
I think of potential to that.
My theory is, if it isn't Luke Skywalker's daughter, remember this is Disney, who owns Star Wars now, what if Rey's nobody?
Yeah.
Her parentage doesn't matter. She's just someone who's strong with the Force. She's been chosen to bring balance. Isn't Disney sort of about you're special, and you're special, and it doesn't matter what your circumstances are, what the colour of your skin is, where you're from, what your gender is, you are special, you are the one to bring balance to the Force. What a great message to send to all the new kids that are into Star Wars right now. It doesn't matter about your circumstances, you can still do something great with yourself.
Because if she is Luke's daughter, it's kind of like, you can do great things as long as you are in the Skywalker
Oh yeah,
family.
nepotism.
So, yeah, it's
Right
kind of like,
with the Force.
you can only be great if you're already born into a powerful family that are already doing well.
There's all this emphasis on and mystery built up deliberately around who her parents are,
Yeah.
but there doesn't necessarily need to be. The big reveal, the big twist could be Luke Skywalker literally turning to her and going, "You don't know who your parents are. It doesn't matter. The fact is, you're strong with the Force. You have the capability to bring this all, to balance."
That will make a lot of the stuff
And
like
that
her
would-
visions will be kind of red herrings, though, wouldn't they?
That would be good.
It would be, yeah. But you could read that as that's just what the lightsaber has sort of inflicted on her. Like the lightsaber, maybe she might have 3 Force Awakenings in this film. So first, when she touches the lightsaber. Second, when she has the sort of mind battle with Kylo Ren, that further unlocks her abilities. And then at the end, when she's on the cliff, that's like the final awakening, the thing that brings her back to, you know.
Yeah,
it's just a
Yeah,
theory.
absolutely.
I like that. Yeah.
What
That'd
about
be an interesting route to go.
The other theory is, regardless of who her parents are, she's had previous Jedi training as a child, which explains why she could see Kylo Ren kill that Knight of Ren guy in her presence. Maybe the Knights of Ren are, you know, there to kill the rest of the Jedi Order. She witnesses that, and then when she goes into hiding, maybe someone regresses her memories of the Force, and all the things that happen in this film literally make the Force awaken back in her. She remembers all of her training, which is why she's suddenly able to take on Kylo Ren. She's able to do the mind tricks and all the rest of it.
You've been playing too much Knights of the Old Republic.
No?
She can't have been trained that much, though, because she was super young when she was put on the planet.
But they are trained super young.
Yeah, but, like, for how long? I mean, she was, what,
Like
4?
four.
So you only got a couple years in the most.
She won't have
Just theory.
lightsaber training at that age.
It's just a theory.
And I suppose then how much older is Kylo Ren supposed to be than her?
Well,
if he's like an adult when he
I
kills
sort
that
of
person?
dropped it, okay? So he was like, let's say 25. I think she's meant to be roughly
18,
17, 19 sort of age, you know?
You kind of get the impression that they're similar, like really similar ages when they're fighting, but they could not be.
He could, if the age gap is that much, he could be just old enough to be able to use the Force and use a lightsaber and kill people.
Mm-hmm.
All these people are off guard. They're not expecting Kylo Ren to suddenly turn around and start hacking at them, you know? Or maybe the Knights of Ren recruited him at a young age, and they're the ones who, with the help of Snoke, turned him to the dark side, you know? It's not necessarily him that started the Knights of Ren. It just so happens that he's now their best knight.
Ren, yeah, it could just be like almost like a title, like Darth.
Yeah.
So maybe the flashback is when they're children, raised very young. Kylo is sort of teenage. The Knights of Ren have been sort of sent over to kill the rest of the Jedi with him. He's in on it. But then when they go to kill his potential cousin, if she's Luke's daughter, that's when the teenage side of him, the young sort of naive side of him goes, no, you're not. You can have all these people, but you're not having family, you know? And that's why you see the flashback of him killing the Knight of Ren.
Interesting.
Yeah, cool.
Could be.
But
That's a great story.
as for her parents, like I'm going back to number 3 here. When he attacks the younglings, I mean, is that really all the children Jedi? He's not going to be able to kill them all at once. I mean, what if some were sick that day? You never know. I mean, how
And
many?
the only Jedi being trained as well. There was like 300 Jedi at least shown in those films. Yeah. And they were training, what, 20 of them?
No, but the clones
one
killed the
little
rest of them, you assume.
Yeah,
I mean, it
but what
didn't
were the
kill them
kids?
all, because in the Clone Wars... Oh, no, in Rebels, there's, like, surviving Jedi.
Yeah.
I think the idea is that quite a few survived.
Yeah.
But all
They
the
go,
kids,
they
like the
go
kids
undercover.
It's just
Yeah, yeah.
assumed that
Hiding.
they're all dead.
But the thing is, these people could have permeated throughout the series and just ended up trying to live normal lives. They had some kid, something happens to them.
Yeah.
Could be. So she could be of like a Force using family, but then, yeah. It's all to be found out. There's some interesting sort of theories on it.
I guess whichever direction they go will kind of cement the idea of whether the Force is something you pass down or whether it's certain people are imbued with it.
I just had a really random thought. Maybe she could be the daughter of Wedge.
Wedge Antilles.
It would explain the piloting
Porkins.
skills. No, Porkins didn't have a chance.
No.
No.
That would be great, though.
Yeah, she's the daughter of the porkiest man in the starfighter ever.
There's so many different, like you said, one of the beauties of this film is there's just so many different ways it can go, and all of them will be good.
Yeah.
I'll be equally as satisfied if it is the most obvious Luke Skywalker's daughter, or if she was nobody, or if there's something completely left field that no one thought about.
As long as it's well done, doesn't matter, does
exactly. As long as it makes sense, you know. As long as they don't pluck it out of midair, out of thin air, and sort of go, "That's it," you know.
But
fight your way through that.
They will have done that.
What do you mean?
Well, they've got to get their ideas from somewhere.
No, I know, but like it needs to make sense. Like once they say what it is, you need to go, "Oh yeah, okay, I see why now. X, Y, and Z led to this. Yeah, fair enough."
I need a piss.
Hey guys, I'm just taking a second out from the show to let you know how you can support the podcast and help it grow. You can follow us on Twitter at MRexPodcast, like our Facebook page, subscribe to us on YouTube where we will post exclusive content as well as our regular episodes, subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and Stitcher. You can get our merchandise from our Redbubble store. Just go to redbubble.com and search MRexPodcast. You can become a patron of the show and receive exclusive episodes via our Patreon campaign. To find all of the things that I've just mentioned, just search Moviesaurus Rex Podcast and look for the logo. And with that out of the way, let's get back to the show.
Is the First Order a good enough replacement for the Empire?
Yes.
They're suitably evil enough.
Yeah, they're efficient.
Even more so.
Are they better than the Empire?
Yes.
They seem...
You kind of see the First Order seem to be almost like a reflection of, like the First Order are to the Empire as Kylo Ren is to Darth Vader, in that they're trying to both emulate and then like surpass it. Yeah, and so they're both Kylo Ren on a smaller scale and the First Order are trying to hark back to this powerful force and recreate it to just purely for the sake of power and then outdo it as well.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
I watched a video where someone mentioned when Finn and Poe escape on a TIE fighter, General Hux says, fire up the something or others, something missiles. There's something specific. The blue missiles.
Yeah.
And it fires 4 of them, and then 1 of them hits. Apparently, that weaponry uses kyber crystals, like same as lightsabers, like that technology. So that's sort of like a sign of the First Order embracing that slightly more supernatural element, giving them that edge.
Okay.
How do kyber crystals work? Do they use the Force?
That's what I don't know how they work, but that's what you put in a lightsaber, isn't it?
Tuned to the user of the lightsaber, you pick out your crystal.
Yeah, I get that, but what has that got to do with sort of supernatural and Force elements? It's not just a like high energy crystal that you can.
Well, I suppose they are high. They can focus high energy to obviously create the lightsaber. So I'm guessing they can be used to improve the amount of damage something does.
It's
wibbly wobbly, timey wimey, sciencey wincy shit.
Yeah,
Sounds about right. For
I don't
Star
know.
Wars.
Just a different edge.
But I think, like you say, it basically demonstrates that the First Order are willing to go further than the Empire
That's what I
did
mean,
for
yeah.
power. And
That technology was already there during the original trilogy era, but New Order is sort of like, oh no, we'll utilise this, we'll use it.
the weakest part, I think, of the First Order and the Republic at the same time is that they didn't really explain their relation to each other, the greater galaxy, and their kind of significance. They explained in the opening crawl that the First Order have risen from the ashes of the Empire. I think is almost the exact thing.
Yeah.
But they never really gave enough exposition for us to care or even understand the political situation. Because then you had the Resistance, which are different from the Republic, and it's like, who are all these people? How are they related to each other?
They're still really the Rebel Alliance, aren't they?
Yeah.
Just a rebrand.
Just a rebranding.
I mean, obviously they explain it in other literature, and they've since kind of explained it in articles and stuff. But really, you need that in the film to even understand. When they blow up the Galactic Senate, it's like we don't even know who they are. So why do we care that they've been blown up? We get that it's a big show of power. Millions of people have died, but who are the Galactic Senate and why are they important? We know the Resistance are fine.
I think the New Order certainly come across a lot more imposing. They seem a bit more ruthless than less sort of bumbling drones, more human now, especially because
They're using actual humans.
they've put a lot of humanity into them. Like you can see their human side almost now.
They're not cookie cutter. They're like
No, they all seem to have a bit of a personality. You sort of see it like, I don't know. It's interesting. I really like the New Order. I just think
First Order,
New Republic,
First Order, yeah.
Yeah, First Order. Yeah, no, I think they're excellent.
And what are they gone? Well, are they, how much of them survived? Because
I think the ship that they have still around,
yeah,
isn't
exactly.
it?
I mean, it's not like the whole of the First Order was Starkiller Base. That
No.
was just one part of it.
Yeah.
I think aren't they shown to have quite a formidable fleet as well? So they've still got
Yeah.
a lot going on.
We've probably just seen the tip of the iceberg of what they've actually got, because a lot of their stuff's, I assume, hidden from the Republic and everything. Like,
Well, I imagine Starkiller Base must have been as well.
Yeah.
Like the Republic must have
They've
not
actually
known
got 3 more Starkiller bases.
Yeah, the next one, which will be called The Empire Strikes Back Again, will be the First Order with 2 Starkiller bases that they've got to blow up simultaneously. And it'll start on a snow planet. And they'll be AT-ATs, but they'll have 6 legs.
They've already done that.
8 legs, 2 heads. They'll be called the AT-ATs.
at
I'm calling it
times
now.
4.
I'm calling it now.
AT-AT
You watch this
centipede.
space.
Space. How do we feel about the climax? Like the fight between Kylo Ren, Rey, Finn, blah 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 blah.
Brilliant.
That whole segment, the
Great.
with Poe Dameron just in the trench run and all the rest of it, the whole thing.
It's really good. It looked beautiful.
Hmm.
It's the lightsaber fight in that snowy forest, probably the best lightsaber fight.
Yeah.
In terms of effects and everything, really. It's great.
I loved when they're sort of in a lock and Kylo Ren puts his lightsaber into the ground and you see the steam coming off the snow as he's melting it. I was like,
Fantastic.
that's just a nice little visual that they
Yeah.
didn't need to add, but they were like, might as well make use of the environment while we're here.
Yeah, yeah.
How did you guys feel about the fact that Finn manages to wound Kylo Ren in a lightsaber fight?
Fine.
Because people took issue with that because they were like, "Why would he be able to do that?"
They've
He's
had
just a stormtrooper.
they've had training.
Yeah.
They've had
And more importantly, Kylo Ren hasn't really ever fought anyone with a lightsaber, so he's not
far as we know.
going to be
No.
you know Mace Windu levels
No.
because
He has
he's been
been-
intimidating people with it, but he's
he's
never really
been-
fought anyone with it.
injured by Chewbacca as well with the
he's been-
bowcaster.
Yeah, exactly. He's been messed up.
Yeah.
People have a lot of hatred for the fact that Rey can beat Kylo Ren.
Yeah, but he was. I mean, he'd already been slashed up by Finn
Exactly.
and shot, and she's like super force powerful and stuff.
I thought it was an excellent fight. It was a lot more.
Felt more.
It wasn't as much finesse as.
Yeah.
And I prefer that. It was a lot grittier and there was a lot
Yeah.
more anger in the strikes.
Exactly. There was some weight behind each blow, and like it didn't feel as orchestrated.
It wasn't
It felt
fencing.
more like a skirmish rather than
It wasn't
a ballet.
a gentleman's.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Well, saying that, Rey, something that a lot of people have noticed is that Rey fights because she's so used to using that weird
bow,
staff.
the staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She fights at a sort of a greater distance than most people do.
She
Like,
lunges
yeah, she's
and
lots of sort of
stuff.
poking
Yeah.
because she's used to fighting at a great distance. So she kind of goes for a more
A rapier style.
yeah, kind of lighter approach.
It's a nice touch. It's
Yeah,
a
it's
different
It could be people
style
reading
of
into too
lightsaber
much, but it
duels.
probably isn't.
Yeah, it adds a new dynamic to it all.
I like that the crosshair came in. What do you call it? The thing on
Crossguard.
Crossguard. I like that came into it
Crosshairs
as
on a
well.
lightsaber, though, that'd be useful. Just so you can get really precise hits.
Precision. I like that they actually used that. It wasn't just like an aesthetic thing. It was like, yeah, this has got some practical use. We'll probably make lightsabers like this from now on. Like, why not?
Yeah, it didn't really seem to be to Kylo Ren's detriment at all.
If
which
you
is what
remember
people were worried about.
What a backlash it had in the first teaser trailer, like a year before. Like when that happened, everyone was like, "What the fuck's wrong with
Yeah.
the lightsaber design in this film? Oh, this is crazy." Just shows what a big something
Well, the
people
big
can make out of
response.
nothing.
I think this kind of touches on an issue that is quite common with the sort of Star Wars fan base. Is the big response was, you can't have a lightsaber design like that, and it's like,
Why not?
hang on, these films are the things that set these standards.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
guys don't decide what you can and
Exactly.
can't do. These films do. So if the film does it, you can. You guys don't. You guys don't make Star Wars rules. They make the Star Wars rules. So when people start arguing about it, it's like, don't forget where this has all come from. It's come from these film studios, and they're the ones making this up.
I do think it suffered the same sort of issue as Darth Maul's lightsaber.
As a poor reveal.
It shouldn't have been shown in the adverts.
Yeah.
If he had like opened his lightsaber with just the main blade and then they popped out during the big finale, people would have lost
I
their
dunno.
shit.
The Darth Maul reveal would have been cool if you'd never seen it in the trailer, but I think it's not formidable enough, those two little blades, that I think it would have created a laughable moment in the film. Because it's not a big second lightsaber, it's just a little psh. So that would have happened and everyone would have been like, what?
But if they'd done it, if the fight had been choreographed more to the effect that it would have been got in a position activated them so they actually did the damage rather than popping out and then doing the damage.
But then it would have seemed too convenient that he's like, you do nothing about this, and then when they're in a lightsaber lock, he happens to have a means of one-upping, which is just press a button and have an extra lightsaber.
But then that would have shown the sort of the dark side being a bit scheming and a bit more...
Yeah. It would be very hard to have that reveal, I think, and not create the same reaction that it initially did with the trailer, where everyone laughed at it and said it was stupid.
Yeah.
This kind of gave people enough time to get over it. But no, I agree that it would have been much cooler to have that come out of nowhere, if they could pull it off.
I love how Kylo Ren's fighting style sort of adapts to that more olden broadsword feel as well. The way he swings it about, it's not how a Jedi would normally use its their lightsaber. He's basically his combat style is orientated around that weapon. I just think it's just a nice little touch. They could have easily just had it be another lightsaber, and he just does it the same as everyone else. But no, it's like he's more connected to that lightsaber, you know. Because he made it as well. He made it himself.
Yeah. I think that's a point, actually. That would have worked. That would have been an effective reveal for the little... What I guess are effectively vents. His crossguard are kind of supposed to be vents, aren't they? Because it's like an unstable crystal and it's bending out the side. If they kind of focused on the fact that his lightsaber is different to the kind of finely crafted weapons that we've seen before, showing him almost like it being a bit out of control and him having to release the vents to like help stabilize the saber and stuff, it would have helped enhance the fact that he's kind of doesn't really know what he's doing. He's kind of just winging it as he goes along. He's not like a highly trained person like Darth Vader was. That like showing that, emphasizing that would have helped, I think.
I mean, you can see that his lightsabers. Let's stay up with it because the blade itself isn't just like one,
and that's enough really to get
it's very unstable.
He's got a cracked crystal in there, hasn't he?
Something like that.
Yeah, but I don't think everyone would have got that impression. So I mean,
it's not explained in the film.
Yeah,
it's just.
But you only need a short scene, like I said. Basically, just if he were to activate like a normal lightsaber, and it's kind of almost like shaking in his hands, and he can't really control it. So then he activates these vents. You get the idea that
maybe
this is a different type of lightsaber.
Maybe in the next one, you'll see him like taking it apart and cleaning it or some shit, and you'll see more of the gubbins. You'll get more of an impression that
Hux
he built
will walk
this.
in and he'll be in the dark, just rubbing an oil rag up and down his lightsaber, and be like, "Where have you been?"
Treating it like an old N64 cartridge, just blowing it out,
getting the dust out of there. My favourite part of this fight is the fact that like she cuts him up in the face, and now he's going to have a reason to wear his mask in the next film. I'm assuming it's going to be a different mask, but it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like he wants to be more like Darth Vader. He's worn the armor, and he hasn't really had any reason to other than intimidation. But now, like, a part of him must almost be pleased that he's got the war scars now to go with the rest of his persona.
I think he should have had more to begin with. Not enough to justify wearing the helmet, but enough that when he takes his helmet off, he doesn't just look like a young, angsty. Yeah, exactly. Fresh-faced is the word. Yeah,
I think that is the point.
That is
it's meant to be the juxtaposition between what you was expecting to come off and then the reality of it. You're like, oh wait, this kid, there's nothing actually wrong with him. Like, what's he wearing the thing for then? You know, it just again like plays on his insecurities. I think a little bit more.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, it'd be very hard to get right by doing that. But that is something that I think. Yeah.
I mean, if he didn't take the helmet off for the whole film, people would have been like, why isn't he taking the helmet off? We know who Adam Driver is. We know what Adam Driver looks like. Why don't you just take the helmet off? What's going to be under there? Like, if they'd have left it a whole film, when he eventually took his helmet off and it was still Adam Driver under there, people would have been like, oh, what the fuck? I've waited 2 years for this helmet reveal and it just amounted to nothing. Like, they're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't.
Yeah.
He could have had a better hairstyle. That's something that
felt very Han Solo,
very
70s,
yeah.
you know?
They were having that kind of nostalgia trip with
he
it.
looked like Professor Snape. He just looked like a young Snape.
Yeah.
He had the exact haircut and he was wearing dark black robes across the neck.
He was growing it deliberately, you know, to sort of seem more wild and
he wanted to
evil.
look like Darth Vader's helmet, even when he's not wearing the helmet.
Exactly.
That was his plan.
I mean, that's what the rest of the kids who listen to Linkin Park have their hair like, and he just wanted to fit in.
I just want to fit in with my friends. Leave me alone.
You was mentioning about everyone has their own music.
Yeah.
So they just play Crawling in My Skin for him.
There's actually a Twitter account that's like emo Kylo Ren, and someone's like constantly posting emo-y sort of quotes on there.
Someone said to him, as sarcastically, they said, "Oh, try not to cut yourself on that edge, Kylo." And he was like, "Edge?" And then he made the extra lightsaber blades. He was like, he thought he was getting lightsaber advice.
Neil, you said your favourite part of Star Wars is the space battles. There's actually not a single space battle in this film. But how do you feel about the sky battles? What would you say? What would you call them?
Low planet orbit.
There you go.
Well, surface fighter skirmishes.
The Falcon with the TIE fighters on Jakku was phenomenal.
Yeah. That was a very good sequence, but yeah, I'm very disappointed there weren't any space battles.
What's the real
They're
difference?
saving it. They're saving it up.
Saving it.
They're going to have to do something phenomenal.
Well, I mean, getting back to what we were saying, we've only seen a small portion of a First Order fleet, so assumedly in the second one there's going to be a massive space battle where you see the full force of...
Well, we hope
the
I
New
hope
Order.
so,
Their
but
big old, like, triple super Star Destroyer, whatever it was.
yeah.
You didn't even really see it in action. It was all internal. You saw like the odd shot of it, but it never did anything.
No.
So they've
Building it up,
They've got to
mate.
use that.
Can I raise a point about the Rebels, like, ships? Back with the New Hope, like, trench run, you had, like, X-Wings and Y-Wings.
Mm-hmm.
Why was it just X-Wings this time? Like, what's happened to Y-Wings, A-Wings, everything?
Maybe
shit.
there's no more left.
Yeah, they don't exactly have the resources to build those. The resistance.
Hawkins died and they couldn't fit anyone else in.
They came from behind! Just had to drop that in there.
They probably looked at the stats and they were like, Y-Wings didn't really do anything.
These are really inefficient. The fuel costs on
The
these
X-Wings
things
do
are-
everything. Let's just have a bunch of them.
They've got 2 attacks,
Yeah, we're not talking...
2 defense,
Fucking
5 hull
X-Wing,
points, 5 ship.
I don't know, but
And they're really hard to control with an Xbox controller, so they're just like...
again, it was just the aesthetic of having all these different ships. Like, the Rebels are supposed to be a little bit ragtag. Having a fleet of the same ships with fancy paint jobs, it's cool, don't get me wrong, I fucking love the X-Wings, but...
I mean, maybe they're just slowly bringing it all back, you know? Maybe if they thought bringing it all at the same time's too much of a pander, you know, to the
Especially
fans.
with, like you said earlier, if they're keeping new audiences in mind,
Yeah.
they wouldn't want to bombard them with too much stuff, too many things to keep track of, and you don't want someone that's not familiar with Star Wars looking at all these ships and thinking, "Hang on,
What's
are
all
these,
this?
Yeah, are they different people working together?
You just need
Are
to
they-
see one type of ship, TIE fighters and X-Wings, and go, they're the good guy ships, they're the bad guy ships, so I don't get disorientated.
Also,
when
the
I'm
X-Wing is
watching.
like the icon of the Rebels. You know, it's the iconic ship that signifies it all. Luke had an X-Wing, so it's like.
And, will you sell many wire bomber toys?
I had a Y-Bomber toy. I had a
I mean,
Y-Bomber,
you did, but...
A-Wing.
They looked at their stats and they were like, "We've sold one to some little
kid in
in
Essex.
Essex."
I had a B-Wing. I had...
What's a B-Wing? What's that look like?
It's the capsule with a big wing. and
Oh,
then
I've
the
never
two.
liked those. Yeah,
They were dumb.
They're kind of cool.
they do not look like they
With the
should
fighter
fly.
bombers.
And I had a
But
snow
they fly in
speeders are alright.
space.
battle
so it doesn't
damage
matter.
snow speeder.
But
I
they
had 2
don't.
snow speeders.
They wouldn't in this film, so that's why they didn't use them. That's what happened. They were like, "Oh, the X-Wings are the only thing that can fly in an atmosphere. Everything else is so poorly designed that they have to stay in space."
A-Wings could have done it
A-Wing was my favourite.
Maybe that's too...
fast.
Yeah, maybe too much.
You kind of got the impression as well that the Resistance didn't have a huge amount of ships.
It's just
Like,
a
they were-
ragtag bunch of... Is it,
They're all
they're-
old X-Wings, basically.
Looking
So.
for a place called home. Oh wait, no, that's Battlestar Galactica. My bad.
They're probably even like worse equipped than the Rebellion.
Yeah,
Because you think a war's happened since then, and assumedly all these vehicles have been destroyed, most of them. There's been no need to produce more. Like, I don't know.
I don't know, because people know that the First Order exists, but they kind of don't do anything about it.
I don't know if you. I don't know if the whole galaxy knows that the First Order exists. It's sort of like this myth that they exist, and it's
Oh,
only
I see.
once the Starkiller base starts destroying things that's when like, oh shit, the First Order, they're actually formidable. They're not just this bunch of arseholes that have, you know.
I guess you kind of forget about the distance as well. You know,
Yeah,
it's supposed to be systems
it's not like they're
so-
connected. It's not like each planet has internet or anything. It's all, even though it's like future-y technology, it does feel like, I don't know. There's still like a lack of communication.
Yeah, they don't even have Skype. They got to use those weird old holograms. It's like, come on, guys. Even we've got Skype. We don't even know lightsabers. Star Wars has always had that kind because it was, you know, the technology was made in the 70s when they
Exactly.
conceptualized the idea of personal computers. So it's always kind of technologically advanced in some ways and not in others.
But getting back to what I originally asked, even though there's no space battles now, did you feel satisfied with the aerial combat?
It was good. Yeah,
Yeah?
it was good.
I loved that shot in the cockpit when you're in an X-wing, and it's sort of like point of view.
Yeah,
Well, you do sort of see inside a snowspeeder in Empire, but it's not the same. It's not got that finesse that this new one has. You're literally the pilot, and you're looking 360 in all the windows as things are happening either side, above, below.
yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
Very good.
Cool stuff.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember all the battles there were. There was the kind of fleeing the TIE fighters on Jakku, and then there was the fight above.
It's pretty much
Mas
free,
Kanata
I think.
And then
That's
what
it.
was the other one? The one above Starkiller Base.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Not much more to say about that.
No, unfortunately not.
Although the Falcon got thrown about a bit, didn't it?
Especially on Jakku when they were taking off. That was skidding along the floor, smashing into stuff. That's a tough ship.
It's great. Loved it.
Piece of junk.
That was
They
good.
call it piece of junk. Bit more of a general topic. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you really want to talk about? Good, bad, favourite scene, a favourite moment, something you hated? One thing comes to mind for me.
Yeah.
After Han dies and Chewie retaliates and shoots Kylo Ren, you notice like he doesn't hesitate to press the trigger to detonate. Like he's like, we're all going out. Like he's made an active decision. Han's dead. What's the point? We're all going to Kingdom Come.
I think they could have done more showing Chewie's rage, like his immediate reaction to that. Like, because he shot Kylo Ren, he shot like one stormtrooper and then he ran and blew it.
I think
you want to see him rip arms off.
No, but I think the pressing of the buttons, like that's it. I'm fucking dead. I'm taking you, all you cunts with me. Like that's it. That's
maybe that's why Leia didn't hug him. She was like, "You tried to blow everyone
You're a
up."
bit of an
you
arsehole,
twat."
Chewie. Bad dog.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, you kind of made him sound like a football hooligan then.
Football.
Come on, you cunts.
Yeah, man.
Have we actually seen him tear anyone's arms off yet?
There's a deleted scene. I keep going back to it, but there's a deleted scene where Simon Pegg's character, the guy who is essentially Rey's slaver, he somehow shows up at Maz Kanata's place trying to get the Falcon back because it's his ship, and Chewie rips his arms off, literally.
Oh my God.
And they thought maybe this is a bit much, so they took it out.
It's supposed to be kids' films.
Yeah,
God damn it, put that back in.
might be in the Blu-ray. Who knows? They filmed it.
The
Though.
18 plus Blu-ray. Bloody hell.
They do decapitate Dooku in.
Do it.
Yeah, but then with lightsabers, so it's not very gory. It's like a nice clean cut.
Yeah, but the head rolls, man.
Limbs and
The head rolls and it's brutal.
Plus, he goes for that gladiator sort of thing where he's got two blades.
Scissors.
Yeah,
Which you wouldn't be able to do
why not?
with a sword.
you do it one above the other.
Because you couldn't scissor it with.
Yeah, but you could still swing two swords at the
Yeah.
same time
Yeah,
in
but-
opposite directions.
It wouldn't be a
They're
clean
lightsabers.
cut.
They
No.
just slice through
No,
anything.
that's what I'm saying. You could do it with lightsabers, not a problem, but with the real swords, you'd struggle.
Oh, you're saying
okay.
gladiator's not accurate now.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Neil's talking from experience.
Seriously, guys,
See?
don't try
Still
it.
attached. You can't even see the scars.
Any other things that stand out to people? Or do you feel like we've discussed everything?
I loved all the scenery.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
The sets are
Especially
beautiful.
Jakku, yeah.
Yes, the Jakku, with the crashed
Oh, it's fantastic.
Star
That was
Destroyer.
real practical sets as well.
was
Incredible.
fantastic.
I liked how much weight was behind all the weapons. Like, even the blasters, I think, particularly like Chewie's bowcaster and...
Oh, Pose Blaster in that first opening scene. as
Yeah, the
well.
open, like...
That was a
Everything's
beastly
got a
bow.
real punch to it.
Mm.
I don't know if that's just because of the screen that I was watching it in, or like they've really upped the sort of weight behind everything. It just feels more formidable, you know?
Was it weird that Poe's rifle made someone bleed?
Yes. A little bit.
Mm.
Because laser weaponry shouldn't be doing that.
But you got when that bolt stopped, you could tell it was like quite a violent weapon. It wasn't like a normal, like nice little round bolt. You know, when he like force stops it, it's all jagged and
But
there's like humming with
I don't
energy.
know whether that's because
It's being distorted.
it's been distorted
Yeah, maybe.
using
Yeah,
the Force and.
No, you're
all
right.
that.
They obviously needed a reason to differentiate Finn before he took his helmet off, and didn't really think about that, I guess.
Is it definitely Poe that shoots that stormtrooper that bleeds? Is that how whoever gets wounded?
Shoots in the neck.
I never noticed that.
I mean, it could have been easily done. It could have been like one of the villagers like running out.
That's
and,
what
like,
I'm thinking.
falling. But no.
Yeah. Well, even then they were shot, weren't they, with laser weapons? So there should have been an explosion and shrapnel.
You've got to assume there's a bit of blood, even though like it's a laser. Like
There might be
something
the first
gets
bit of blood in
severed.
Star Wars
There's a
ever.
bit of leakage, you know.
Sure, not
Spillage!
cauterised,
Sit
like-
off.
No, it's not always cauterised. We talked about that before. I don't know if it was on the podcast, but we've definitely had a discussion about it.
Did it need to be blood, or could it have just been ash?
Like Kylo Ren's
Just needs
bleeding
to-
after he's been shot with a
Still black.
bowcaster.
But it's
And
very
he's-
explosive quarrels.
well, maybe this was an explosive
Are they?
gun from Poe.
It wasn't
Yeah.
You don't know
No.
what sort of rounds
because
he was using.
he shot more than one stormtroopers, and they just went down with like.
Maybe he shot. This is really sort of reaching. Maybe he shot the armor, and the armor bent in, and because it's metal, maybe the metal of the armor pierced his skin.
But he shot him in the neck.
Or maybe his
There's
neck
no
armor.
armour there.
Neck armor pierced
There's
him.
no neck armor on the Gorget. It's
Maybe a bit of shrapnel from an explosion was flying through the air at that exact moment, and the blaster bolt caught it and took it with
Propelled
it
it.
into his neck.
but then blast.
But yeah, that's saying that.
Maybe the stormtrooper had a second supply of blood on him just in case he ever needed it, and it was actually the packet of blood that got destroyed. And he's just making a mess.
He was
He's just
going
like,
to play.
oh my
He was
blood!
going to play a practical joke
Wouldn't that
Yeah.
have been heated as
on
well? though?
Finn.
Anyway,
It might have been hot.
also the flamethrower stormtrooper,
Oh, yeah, they were
incredible,
Cool. They were so
Yeah.
cool.
amazing.
They were so cool.
What were they needed for? Flamethrowers are just
I think in general, it sort of goes
Nuts.
back to our.
just kick them down. Like, for Christ's
Well,
sake.
This sort of
Yeah,
goes
fair
back
enough.
to the First Order being better. I just think the stormtroopers in general, they're much more intimidating.
Yeah.
Like they're capable now. They're not just like
As I say,
I
the
don't know.
bumbling
They're
drones.
not goons anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They don't knock their head on the doorway when they walk through it. Dunk.
There is one that does apparently.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not in this film. They did it.
No, I think there is one in this film.
Oh, really?
I think they deliberately
Fantastic.
put one in.
Good. I hope so.
I hope it makes the little noise as well.
They put one in Battlefront. I know that much.
Did
One
they?
of the cutscenes, they deliberately made one
Fantastic.
walk into it. Yeah.
Nice.
I love all that sort of stuff.
Anyway, with the blood, the writers just needed an excuse to differentiate Finn from the other stormtroopers.
I mean, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That is what it's for. But
I think there's
Who
other
knows?
ways that could have been done, but I don't
Yeah.
know.
he
It-
could have
it-
just blown half his helmet off.
Yeah.
No, because then he wouldn't have. Then it would have been significant for him to take his helmet off.
oh, yeah, you'd have needed a new one.
Yeah, but then Phasma couldn't have come in and gone, "Put your helmet back on. I didn't authorise you to take that off."
It'd be like, fucking need to fix it.
just checking the
Still
mic.
good.
trying to think of.
Is it okay?
Yeah, it's all good. It says it's not recording, but it's fine.
What do you? Oh,
I'm joking.
Oh.
It's okay.
Neil, you're someone that's quite knowledgeable in the Legends / expanded universe.
Yeah.
I mean, more so than most of us, I imagine. How do you feel? We sort of touched on it in the previous episode, but how do you feel about all that expanded universe now becoming Legends / non-canon? Having now seen Episode 7, like, do you feel like now that you've seen what new Star Wars is, do you feel like, okay, I don't mind so much now?
It's a step into the unknown, which is possibly a good thing because I definitely don't know what's going to happen next. There's unless they retroactively go back and be like, right, okay, we've done this, but now we're going to pinch from this, and this, and meld it together and somehow cobble together the next two films, which is extremely unlikely. The only thing they're going to do is maybe do little nods to whatever happens in this book, that book, or the other. There are little things that are mentioned, but without sitting down and actually watching the film a good few times, I can't say right, okay, this is from this particular trilogy of books, or that's from that series of books, or whatever. So on the whole, I think it's a good thing that they've moved away from it. It's sad because it's a huge wealth of stuff that they could have used, and it's all really, really, really good stuff.
I mean, they can still dip into it, can't they? They can take the things that they like or the things that meld with what they're trying to do.
They can, yes.
Well, there's also so much expanded universe that surely they're bound to step on the toes of some stories. I mean, even without doing it deliberately, if it's some of the stuff they're going to do has got to have been done in it.
I mean, if they do reveal sort of this whole sort of thing with Snoke, and he turns out to be Plagueis, there you go. You've got your I've cheated death. I've come back in a new body kind of thing, which borrows from the Dark Empire graphic novel series. But as I said, without watching the film more than once, I can't sort of say what is in it that sort of they've borrowed from all these different sources and little nods to them. But yeah, on the whole, sad that they haven't used it, but at the same time, it's good because it's new stuff.
Yeah,
new material. It's always good.
They're sort of liberated to do whatever they want now.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess the legend stuff still exists. Like you could still read all that stuff.
Oh yeah,
it's just that fact that you now know
it's not canon.
It's not canon, but it's
some
still
respects,
out there. Like
it doesn't matter.
That you could just take them as nice what if scenarios now, like an alternate timeline,
which they've done in graphic novels for the original trilogy.
Yeah,
they've done what ifs, and they're good.
Yeah,
yeah.
Okay.
Like, what if Chewbacca was a Gungan? Has that been done? Because
no,
if not, I've got.
You might have to.
You've got some fan fiction.
Yeah, I've already got. Yes, three
write
volumes.
Write down Star Wars Infinity's Clone Wars.
Sounds
or
sounds
Attack
good.
of the Clones, and then you could do it in that possibly.
Yeah,
I've had a look at it. It's a bit on the erotic side as well. So.
Let's go there, didn't you?
Yeah, let's just say the lightsabers not the only things that get grasped.
A lot of tongue action as well. I imagine
there's a bit of furry stuff going on.
No, that's weird. Don't like that.
No.
But yeah, I mean, watch this space for that as well.
Okay.
Sometime soon.
We'll keep you posted.
Moving swiftly on.
This is our final question for this episode. Where would we like to see the series go or the story go from here?
Well, I just answered that, didn't I? So
I mean, you've
got it.
I would just like to keep being surprised, personally. I don't want it to be too predictable. I'd like a few, twists here and there. I want them to stick with the characters they've got and just develop them even further, make their relationships a little bit more personal.
Yeah.
If they want to add in, or they're going to add in a new villain in the next one, as long as he's good, I don't mind. Yeah,
as long as they flesh out characters they've already created for the films, and don't try and add in too many new faces.
Exactly,
because that'll detract from who they've already got. So as long as I hope that they flesh out the characters more than they are at the moment.
I hope they've got a plan as well.
Yeah, they're going to develop the characters.
I hope they know what they're doing. Really hope they've not done this one and sort of gone, oh, let's react to this and then do 8 and 9 after that. I mean, I'm sure there's a bit of script changing based on feedback, but I hope they haven't just sort of gone, oh, what will be, will be. We'll just wing it, I don't think they would do that.
No, they definitely wouldn't. They're far too established as a sort of studio and as writing and directing. They just wouldn't. I don't think.
They've got Ryan Johnson doing the next episode though, so I really hope they don't put time travel in it. Just saying.
Personally, I just think Ryan Johnson is a fucking hack. He's just man, I don't know. I watched Looper.
I've not even seen a Ryan Johnson film, so I can't.
Looper was like pretty bad, and then it's basically just really poorly structured, and it's full of plot holes, and
they just say don't think about it.
Yeah,
don't they?
yeah. Like Ryan Johnson basically was just refused to accept it. Just basically said, "Oh, don't think about it too much." He basically says, "Yeah, the plot doesn't make sense, but if we address that, then it wouldn't happen." And it's like, yeah, That's when 90% of people think this is a bad idea. Let's do a different idea. But he's, I guess, stubborn and arrogant enough to go through with his bad idea and make a film of it, rather than come up with something else. And I don't know. From what I've seen of him, he just seems like a bit of a twat.
And a bit of a why choose him sort of thing.
Yeah, of all people. This is only talking about Looper, so he might have some other great films that I haven't seen.
I've heard Brick's meant to be good, but why that's connected to Star Wars, why that gets him a place to do this, I don't know.
I don't know, other than Looper, I don't know what films he's done, so I can't comment on...
We could bring IMDb up, but let's not bother.
He wrote Looper as well, so that's a big difference, is that he won't be writing this, he'll just be directing it.
Oh,
he's directing. It was well directed. It was a nice looking film.
He's writing this next
one. Oh, is he?
Yeah. He's the sole writer on this next one, I think.
I don't know. This is only going off of Looper, which was a bad film, and then it was tarnished by his... Well, it was made even worse by him trying to justify it and back it up, rather than accept that it was just quite a poorly written film.
Alex, any thoughts?
What I'd like to see.
Mm-hmm.
Got our crawl to begin with, all the text.
You're gonna pitch us the whole film, scene by scene. Okay, hit me.
Fade in.
I'm a Hollywood producer. Hit me, kid. Show me what you got.
So, looks down from space to a planet. Zoom in.
What planet, kid?
Oh, fuck knows. But
Gungan. No, what are they on? Naboo.
No, it'd be where Luke and Ray are.
All right, yeah.
So Island then, yeah.
So we're starting off back from the helicopter shot. The helicopter's coming back in.
The horrible helicopter shot.
Can you imagine if that's the first shot? Is that helicopter shot just going back around the island the other way?
And just as they start speaking, you get the feeling like the cameraman's like a bit bored, and you see like the camera slowly start panning away. What's this over to the left? And there it is. It's the pod racing equivalent of the Le Mans. And that's it for the rest of the film.
Just pod racing.
It's like Speedway.
This is pod racing.
Okay.
It cuts away to a guy in a cockpit looking at the camera and he goes, now this is pod racing. And he goes, and he flies down the island, which we've seen is clearly just drops into the sea, but suddenly he's on a racetrack. He's in the middle of a race. And yeah, that's the rest of the film.
I like the sound of that. I'll commission that right now.
But no, in all seriousness, if they could do like another sort of bad starts doing good, and then in the last film, good overcomes evil, that'd be an interesting... I'd like to see New Order. No, First Order, fuck's sake.
I think I might be saying New Order as well every now and then. So don't worry about
I'd like to see them become like an overwhelming force, and then obviously the good defeat them in the last film. But with the spin-offs as well.
Oh yeah, okay, let's get on to that.
Seriously, I would love like a mockumentary of pod racing.
Oh, I know you would.
Honestly,
like it too.
That would be incredible.
Presented by Watto.
Hey kids, come with me, I'll tell you a story.
Pod racing.
That's the thing, you could have him in it. He could be like, oh yeah, I trained, like, I owned one of the greatest. Like, talking about Anakin and all this. Like, you could do that, and...
Is pod racing supposed to be just a Tatooine thing?
No,
or is it supposed to be a galaxy?
Galaxy-wide.
Yeah?
Like, you see it on a Coruscant, and they've got all these, like, super
If you play the
tight,
video
like...
game, you see it on pretty much most planets.
Yeah. But you'd have all these, like...
And we'd get a video game tie-in as well, which would be the second sequel to...
VR as well.
Yeah.
First Rift pod racing.
Oh,
Those two little controllers.
That'd be great.
Oh,
using the
that's all I want
Oculus
now.
Rift.
That's all I want.
I think that'd make you ill.
That'd be incredible.
Now that
Be
would be
amazing.
pod racing.
Incredible. That's
But
a really good idea for a game.
But you'd have all these, like, weird and wonderful pilots. I know some of them were sort of touched upon in the expanded universe.
Yeah, a little
But
bit.
just like having them talking to the camera about their experiences racing, and then seeing highlights and actual racing, I'd love it. I think that'd be great.
You know, in episode 7, Rey rescues BB-8 from that alien on the Rhino robot thing. I was looking at the alien the other day, and his head, like, he's clearly got like some gear on him, but like his head's bare, and he looks a lot like the alien in the pod race. The one that goes, yeah,
Rats Tyrell.
yeah, it looks like the same species of alien,
Brilliant.
if not maybe the same alien. You know,
That's cool.
Rats Tyrell had a family. A family.
A family?
A family. You see him on the sidelines
Oh, right.
Okay, because he dies.
crying. Yeah.
He dies in the
Like, there's two kids and they're like crying, holding their mother.
Oh, Jesus.
He dies in a fiery explosion.
I thought he might be alright.
Yeah,
He ain't
you
alright.
wouldn't think that they would show the horrific morbid fallout and a family.
I mean,
torn
how many of
apart.
them pod racers are going to be alright after that goddamn race?
I've got your pod race film for you. It's sort of like the equivalent of Creed that's just come out.
So it's one of Rex Tyrrell's kids.
It's the kid who's watched his dad die in
There's
the
two of them.
pod race
I'm fairly
fight.
sure there's like two kids.
And
Two
he trains to be a
cockpits.
great pod racer, just like his father wasn't. And that's the film.
The climax of the film is him just immediately dying and get blown up as well. It's poetic.
The
It's
moral,
it's like poetry.
it
It
rhymes.
It's like poetry.
It turns full
True
circle.
George Lucas style.
It's going to be great.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. Rex
Interesting
Tyrrell is the
enough,
key to all of this. It's the key. As long as we get Rex Tyrrell right.
we've come back to George Lucas. After this film's come out, even though people hated George Lucas for like the last 15 odd years, there's suddenly a petition online to get George Lucas back to direct Episode 9. Like,
Really?
how strange is the fan base?
Please don't.
Yeah,
Like-
but how popular is that petition?
I think he's got a few 100,000 signatures.
Oh,
It's ridiculous.
Did they think J.J. Abrams was that bad? Or maybe they've seen Looper and they're like, Ryan Johnson is gonna fuck this
yeah.
franchise. There's only one man that can save us now.
Well, Episode 9 is meant to be directed by Colin Trevorrow, like from Jurassic World.
Oh, okay.
Cool. So it'll be Chris Pratt.
Well,
We can
he's
hope.
That'll be
supposed to be possibly playing
No, he'll be too old.
Han Solo
No.
or Indiana Jones.
I don't think he'll be young Han Solo. It would be nice if he was, but I don't think he will be. I think they're going to go younger.
Who would they get to be?
Bran Stark.
There's a short list of actors. There's like 12 that they've narrowed it down to, apparently.
Okay.
If I was more prepared, I would have had them with me.
Or it could
but
be your favourite.
Who's that?
Shia LaBeouf.
He's too old as well.
He's not famous anymore either.
And he's a cunt. Like
He's not famous. He wrote it on a bag and put it on
that is the sort of move Lucas would make.
Yep.
Bring in a fucking talentless hack like him. What an absolute cunt.
How many spin-offs have been announced? Han Solo one
3
and the Boba Fett one
and Rogue One.
and Rogue One. Cool.
Rogue One.
Cool. That's the new one, the next one coming out.
Yeah, that's
About
next
stealing the
plans.
plans.
I mean, the Boba Fett one isn't official.
Oh, is it
I
not?
assume they're going to fold the Boba Fett one in with the Han Solo one, so the
Yeah.
paths will cross
Yeah.
rather than have one film each. So I think we've got the Han Solo, Rogue One, and then a third one which hasn't been announced yet.
It's got to be pod racing.
Some people are rumouring Ewan McGregor's coming back to be Obi-Wan, and they're going to do.
He's a bit old now, isn't he?
Well, he'd be perfect for the age.
he'd be that perfect age to be between episode 3 and 4 on his little adventures.
Cries of the Quiet Dragon.
the Quiet Dragon.
It's about his quest to master the sound of that dragon.
Him
And
hunting
yet
him
he
to
never
death.
masters it.
He'll have a little Rocky montage of him running through the desert and just going,
Waving his arms.
It's like he's saying.
It'd be a comedy.
it'd be brilliant.
I'd watch it.
Oh, that would be good.
I keep saying it's not like a Darth Maul film, to be honest, but I don't think we'll get it.
Well, it was supposed to make a Darth Maul game and never did.
Yeah.
Be too easy. Just spin around. Crash Bandicoot.
Ooh.
Neil, where do you want the film to go? What do you want the next one to do? The Empire Strikes Back Again, or what it was called? New Hope, Empire
New
Strikes
Hope.
Back Again, Return of...
Return of the Jedi.
I don't know what you could call that third one.
Return of the Jedi.
Revenge of the Younglings.
Revenge of the Jedi 2, the Death Starring, the Star Killing,
Start
the
killing
Reckoning. Let's just call it the Reckoning. The Reckoning.
Destroying
That's
Star
a
Killer
nice
Base
solid.
2.
Star Wars Episode 9. The end? Question mark. Star Wars Episode 10. The new trilogy. It's not going to stop, is
A
it?
slightly newer hope.
Probably
We've got a new trilogy, but once 9's out of the way, there'll be a new trilogy.
Fine with it.
How about they finish Episode 9, they wrap up that trilogy, and then they go back to before the prequels and do a Knights of the Old Republic style trilogy, which goes way back. Not necessarily the same story as Knights of the Old Republic, but that era.
Lots of Sith,
heavily
lots of
inspired by
Jedi.
Knights of the Old Republic.
That could be quite.
I'd watch it. Good.
That could be quite.
And it would have no bearing on anything that happens in the Star Wars that we know. They could just do a completely...
Yeah, because it's almost like ancient history, isn't it?
Yeah.
And they could always,
Awesome.
but they could always have little links in, like for instance, there's mention of the Fett line.
Yeah.
Because
There'd be little nods, but
Man- Mandalorians gain their name by adoption, not genetics.
My only gripe with that was was pod racing a thing back then, or was it?
There was swoop racing.
Old school
Fuck
pod
swoop
racing where you
racing.
have actual animals running instead of us. That'd be so good.
So chariot racing.
Yeah, I mean, just be carts, wouldn't it, really? But,
You
fantastic.
go back to ancient Alien, like 2001: A Space Odyssey, and instead of like the monkey with the bone and throwing it up, it's like the monolith lands, and they're gradually sort of working out how to build the first pod racer.
It's alright because
You've got that ominous, and they're just watching like a headless chicken like run around in circles, and they're like, and then we do a quick cut from the headless chicken to the pod racer going in circles,
And they could have-
and then and then that thing gets killed. We see the kids crying. We're back to the prequels again, full circle poetry.
It's
it
like
rhymes.
poetry, it rhymes.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna
Go
be
on,
great.
Neil. What do you want?
Sorry, Neil.
What do you want for your
That's
ancient
what
prequel?
Neil wants now.
Prequels.
Once you've heard it, some people don't know what they want until they've been told. You know.
I was just going to add to that they'd have to have long panning, zoomed out shots of the pod race track, just slowly going across the track, sort of 2001 style. Take up 5 minutes of following.
Or we go to another sci-fi route. You got a pre-prequel trilogy. Starts with episode -3. Starts working its way backwards.
I like the sound of this
the prequel, the series is chronologically backwards. We'll get to episode -1, the last in the trilogy. I don't know. Someone called Fluke Pie Walker.
Is it a relative of Porkins?
Poetry, it
Pie
rhymes. Poetry, it rhymes. He's a distant relative of both Porkins and Luke because his family tree spreads out.
Oh, wow.
He's finally saved his mother and brought her home on his
Speeder.
on his sea wing, and he lands back at his home and he goes, "Mum, we finally made it. We're home. We've defeated the grey side." It's like poetry, it rhymes. And the camera pans away. Statue of Liberty. It was on Earth the whole time.
Oh wow!
You finally did it.
And it says a
Maniac.
galaxy far, far away. And it's a little
Question mark.
question mark.
I like
A
the sound
long
of that.
time ago.
Is there a negative version of Roman numerals? Because you got to be in keeping with that. You see.
Oh.
That's the only problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
Let's put a dash in front of it.
It'd be fine.
Sure.
It'll be
It's gonna
great.
be great.
It's
Probably
gonna be
is,
great.
yeah, probably
It's
it's
gonna
going
be
to be great. Yeah.
It'd be great.
So that's my idea, and I think, frankly, it's the best one.
I like the sound of it.
Should we talk about what we actually want for the next episode rather than this?
We have.
We've sort of touched on it.
We've said we want character development.
I don't want time travel. That's all I want. I don't want that. Like, keep that out. Because
It wouldn't work.
I mean, Star Wars has never had that many kind of heavy sci-fi concepts. You know, you have space battles, but they're really just aerial dogfights. They're not like full-on space battles.
I want it to stay
Has
away
anyone
from
ever been ejected into space in Star Wars? Have we ever seen that?
What do you mean, jets? Like,
Yeah, just chucked out of
not
an airlock.
not in
Actual Star Wars.
not in the films.
there's that
In the
Robot
books.
Chicken sketch where Jar Jar Binks gets sent
I'm
out
talking
into
about actual
space.
Star Wars. I'm talking about the films.
I know Robot Chicken's canon.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, not in the films. In the book.
Yeah, because you
People
never
have
really.
been dropped
They
out
don't.
into
You know,
hyperspace.
I feel like
they
in
never
Clone
really-
Wars people get jettisoned, which is canon. Yeah.
Did they?
There's one episode where there's like loads of clone troopers and they're in escape pods, and there's an EMP blast and they're stranded,
Oh.
and then a droid battalion comes over and they just crack the windows, and the clone troopers just like
Oh, grim.
just die instantly.
That's brutal.
I suppose
Yeah.
you're never going to see the effects of space because it's just a bit too violent and brutal, isn't it? It's not.
Mm.
It's not something you show kids. But
She's a
yeah, I
cold
mean,
mistress.
that's just
space.
another example. It doesn't ever lean too hard on any sort of sci-fi concepts. So I don't think that you'll ever see something like time travel.
I hope not.
Bloody better not.
Does anyone have anything else I want to talk about?
Yeah. Watching the film a second time, I kind of tried to run with where the film could go after that, and sort of once you can kind of pick up on the details once you've seen it once. One of the things that I really noticed was that Rey is definitely not, in my opinion, Han and Leia's daughter because of just the way they interact and stuff. We spoke about this earlier, and I think Alex, I might have mentioned this before to you. This is how I'd love to see this next film go. Rey is now with Luke. That's how the film starts. It opens up with that, and they quickly establish that she's related to him. She's his daughter, and she is the whole reason that Luke's new Jedi Order kind of fell apart, or at least that's how he sees it, because he kind of his sort of new, he was kind of the only Jedi, right?
Yeah.
And so he kind of created this new Jedi Order, and he kind of sort of veering away, like strayed from the original Jedi Code, which we've seen.
Created his own code. His own
Not
code.
necessarily, but he kind of doesn't think about it too much.
Right.
And then he ends up
He's never
kind
been
of falling in love and like fathering a
Yeah.
child. And then Kylo Ren like slaughters everyone and completely destroys his order. And he kind of tries to explain it by realizing that he's sort of strayed too far from this original Jedi Code. And he thinks that's the reason that the dark side was able to flourish, is because they had some sort of grounding in that, the whole no love, no children, that sort of thing. And so Rey is the symbol of his failure, and and he chose to abandon her. He wanted to get rid of her. He couldn't kill her, but he just wanted her out of it, and that's why he fled, is because he kind of realized that he's lost his way. He's strayed from the Jedi way too much. And I think I'd love for that to happen, because it would shift the focus of that prequel trilogy away from Anakin. We all good?
Yeah, I'm just checking.
Um,
I'm just terrified we're not recording, but we are.
The reason I think this would be a really good way to do it is it would shift the focus of the prequel trilogy away from Anakin and Padme and focus more on that, just showing what the Jedi used to be when they were in power, and sort of demonstrating the original Jedi way, in order to emphasize how far Luke has moved away from it, and the effects that has, and the sort of the way that it ends up kind of backfiring and causing this new Jedi Order to fail.
But the way you see it in the prequel trilogies is because of the way it is. The Jedi have become complacent, and it's breaking down that way because they think there's nothing out there, or a lot of them don't believe that there's anything out there really, and as a result, the arrogance.
Sure,
destroys them from
but this
the
wouldn't
inside.
this wouldn't necessarily be sort of truth. It would just be Luke's kind of justification for it. It could, they could explore it more, but I think it would create this interesting relationship where Rey is Luke's daughter, but Luke rejects her. He doesn't want her. He doesn't want her to exist, and she's a symbol of all his failures. And so he kind of rejects her when she visits him.
When you really think about it, Luke's not been brought up in that era of Jedis being a real thing, really.
Mm-hmm.
He's only had Yoda's brief training. So in this film, he's rumoured to be looking for the first Jedi Temple. Imagine he doesn't know any of this stuff, gets to the first Jedi Temple, reads the code, and he realises how much he's strayed from it, and then that sort of goes back to what you were saying. Like,
well, I think it would be basically the same thing, but the other way around, in his fully embracing the Jedi way after Return of the Jedi, he begins to learn about the ancient Jedi Code, but kind of ignores it because he feels like he's got a better way. Like he feels like he's taking what his father started.
He's bringing balance.
Yeah, he's kind of keeping that on the straighter and narrower path. And then he has Rey, and Kylo Ren kills a bunch of people, or whatever happens, and he just uses that as justification. So he's going back to this. He's finding this original Jedi Temple to reconnect with the original Jedi, the Jedi Code. And this would open up not just this film, but the Episode 9, in that this film would focus on Rey kind of awakening, but then Luke rejecting her and not giving her the training she needs, and then she kind of leaves and tries to fight the battle by herself, and isn't powerful enough and loses, and then it gives the chance for Luke to come back on a redemption arc in episode 9 to save her.
I like that.
And like they can join forces in episode 9.
Alex.
All this is just giving me an idea. What if Luke is Snoke? He killed all the people.
Right.
He went on a rampage.
This-
Something went wrong. He kills them
He's
all,
mental.
and he went into.
That filters into what I was going to say.
Oh.
So that's perfect. That's a perfect segue.
Which would then touch on what happens in Dark Empire.
Is that that's a series, yeah?
Yeah.
Evil Luke. Does he have an eye patch?
So
A robo eye patch?
No.
before I went to see his film, I used to like search stuff on Google for the latest news and stuff. And just
You
after
don't do that anymore.
I don't do that now.
He's
Just-
done with news.
Just after
This film, I was like, I've had all the news I'm ever going to need.
just after the film came out, I don't know why. I think I was looking for reviews. I just typed in Star Wars Force Awakens, and one of the first searches that came up was an extract from, I think, the Telegraph website or something. And the first paragraph, which I didn't even click on the article to read, it was like the preview, and it said, "So Luke Skywalker has gone to the dark side, ... And I read that as a spoiler, so I didn't read the rest of the article. I didn't have any context. I watched The Force Awakens thinking, I've had the film spoiled for me.
Yeah.
They're gonna get to Luke Skywalker, and it's gonna turn out he's evil all along. Now, we've got Luke Skywalker at the end of episode 7. They've been staring at each other for all this time, but he hasn't actually said any words yet. So we still don't know whether he's good or bad,
Yeah.
basically.
Are
And
you expecting him to whack out a red lightsaber in that moment? And that would be
he's
the
like,
final
keep that blue
shot.
one, because I've got this fucking red one, and it's
Oh,
double-ended,
Can you
like
imagine that
Darth
ending?
Maul's.
That would blow up the world if that happened.
His lightsaber's green.
Yeah, but she's got his lightsaber.
No, she's got his first lightsaber.
Right.
Yeah, but he can make a
he's
new
gone
one.
to the dark side, so he's got a red lightsaber.
He can make a new one.
Doesn't necessarily have to have a red one to have gone to the dark side.
That you,
But you're completely missing the point here. The point is that him whacking out the red lightsaber is a quick symbolisation that it's the opposite of what she's expecting. And then you end the film. And everyone's like, what?
But the best thing is, this is set up already. This isn't Luke suddenly turning dark, because in Return of the Jedi, or it might have even been Empire, I get them mixed up sometimes, Yoda says, once you dabble in the dark side, forever will it colour your destiny. Or something. This is a horrible misquote.
He says, once you go black, you don't go back. Is that what he says?
He did say that, but,
Once you step on the
path to
the
the
dark,
Black Death.
forever will it.
dominate your destiny.
Okay, thank you, Neil. He says that, right? And at the end of Jedi, you do get the sense that Luke could possibly go dark. He takes that swing at Palpatine, which is already another sort of step towards that.
He's already wearing all black.
Exactly. He's letting hate fill him. It's already chosen his destiny. He's already on that path. We just finished Return of the Jedi assuming, oh no, he was good in the end. No, that's just the first half of his story. In the 20 years or 30 years that have elapsed since Jedi, has he had time to sort of think of Yoda's words, and he's gone, wait a minute, I did fucking swipe for Palpatine. And I did do this and I did do that. Maybe I'm not a Jedi. Maybe I'm evil. And he's actually gone dark.
And it doesn't even realise
And
it.
maybe he is Snoke.
But then
It's just a hologram. Or he's got some alien creature
Locked
slave,
up in a cage somewhere.
and
Wait,
he's like, read these words.
we're sending a message today.
Exactly.
Over here now.
Ray goes back with Luke on his new island at the start of this new film, and he's just got Linkin Park posters up. and Creed
rumbles.
CDs,
Right.
and he's like, she's like, what have you got these for?
if he's gone to the dark
And his
side,
response is Force Lightning and
Unlimited power. He gives her a Linkin Park CD and some headphones, and she's like, I don't want to put it in, and he just goes, do it.
What was you going to say, Neil? Sorry.
but he's wearing Jedi robes at the end of
He's
the
wearing
film.
robes, but how do you know he's just not waiting for Rey to get close enough to him?
Yeah, what better way to deceive someone, which the Sith or the dark side people are all about, than dress as a Jedi? I'm surprised they didn't do that all along. They see Darth Maul, and instead of going, we'll handle this, they go,
Palpatine.
oh, it's another
How
Jedi.
many-
he hid in plain sight though.
Yeah, but that was as Palpatine, not Sidious. How many Sith have not dressed up in black robes?
We
He
don't
could-
know,
he could be
because
the-
how would you recognise them?
He could be the first one. Why can't he do it?
I
There's
mean-
nothing stopping him doing it. Like,
Yeah.
canonically, it hasn't happened, but
It
there's
could-
nothing stopping him doing it. Like, it's just he's changed his wardrobe.
I mean, Darth Maul, he was always at a disadvantage because he just looked evil.
Exactly, he looked like a devil.
Fucking.
And I think this is a running point: is that you can't take existing Star Wars films as gospel and say, because these are this way, everything has to be this way.
I mean, before now, no one had stopped a blaster bolt in midair with the Force, but it's happened now. Like,
You know, they're not rules.
they can
they're
do
just...
anything now at this
Yeah.
point. I would love that to happen. I'd love to see your version, Max, with Luke
I just think
presenting
it would-
Rey. But
yeah.
if he went dark as well, I'd be like, fine.
I just want Force
The seeds were all
Awakens to
there
end
in
with him
Jedi.
opening up a red lightsaber. Now that you've said that, that would just be amazing. That would blow my mind if he did
And
that.
do you know the best part? They don't put it in the trailer, so you get the reveal in the actual
He
film.
does it, and then another lightsaber
Another
comes,
one
out,
comes
and
out.
then crossguards come out, and you're like, it's the ultimate lightsaber.
And then he uses his robot hand to twizzle it around like Grievous.
And then he walks at him.
So dangerous.
Brilliant.
I think we should be in charge of
He's
Star
got
Wars.
he's got
Ring up
a
Ryan
red
and
lightsaber
you're
that comes
fired.
out, and he's got the green lightsaber that comes out the other end. He's like,
Oh, which one am I, Ray? You're going to have to find out.
In the words of Pantera, bad guys wear black.
yeah, but Pantera don't even exist in this universe.
Doesn't matter.
What universe is Pantera from?
Our universe. So they're a
Our
band.
universe.
Oh,
We're
They're a metal band.
I don't listen to metal.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, the whole dark side people have to wear black is ridiculous.
But it's a symbolic thing.
It's symbolic, but
It can't have that much weight in terms of symbolism because Luke wears black in Return of the Jedi.
exactly. I think his alignment has always been dubious because he's never actually received proper training and he's always been arrogant. He's got too much of his dad in him. It's all there. All the seeds are there. If he turned dark...
What? Too much of his dad in him.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Some real daddy issues.
Anyway, no, I think there's so many good. They've just got to go an unexpected route and nail it. So either Luke, you have to think about what seems to be what's going to happen, and how can that go in an interesting and different route. One of those routes is that Luke does not take Rey in and train her for whatever reason. One of the route is that Luke becomes the antagonist. He's the new villain.
I mean, she just hands him his lightsaber. He could just cut her in half and just kick her in the
He does a
ocean.
Kylo
Done.
Ren. He holds it and. Shh. Can you imagine if they just killed off Rey? That'd be brilliant.
Bold.
We wouldn't have to see any more interviews of that. Fantastic. We wouldn't have to see her teeth.
I can't believe I'm in Star Wars. JJ said my acting was really wooden. What do you think,
Is that what
guys?
she actually sounds like?
I
oh.
think
She basically looks and sounds like Keira Knightley.
it's as good as I can do. I'm afraid it's not going to get better than that. If you listen to my impressions, you should know what you're.
You're not quite Kensington enough, unfortunately.
No,
You
I'm
spend more time. It's more of your childhood in West London.
I'll perfect it for episode 8 when it comes out. But are we all satisfied with what we've said so far?
Yeah.
We feel like we're done.
And I think this final bit just kind of shows that it could go in so many different directions. We just
It's
don't know.
exciting.
I've never, in recent memory, had a film that got people talking so much. Usually you get people talking about, oh, then this happened, then that happened. But in this one, it's more like, oh, what can happen? Who's
Yeah,
this? Who's that?
absolutely,
There's so
yeah.
many, like, people criticise films for, like, asking too many questions and then not answering them because there's this weird belief that every film should be self-contained. Like, no, not necessarily.
Especially
Because
not when it's supposed to be a trilogy.
exactly. I really hate when people discount a film because they're like, it didn't wrap everything up. When it's like, well, it's not like it's a one and done, so don't
Yeah.
worry about it. It's
It
so
sets
great
up
that there's
some
all
of
these
those
questions because it's just getting people talking and ready for the next one. I love it. I fucking love it.
So do I.
Yeah. Nah, it's all right, isn't it?
Episode 7. Wow.
Don't think I could say much about it.
And on that note, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Should we all say "May the Force be with you"? Because we didn't do it on the last episode, and I felt like we should have really done it on the
Okay.
last episode.
Really?
It's happening.
3,
Oh, for fuck's sake.
3, 2, 1.
May
the
the
Force
Force
be
be
with
with you.
you. Brilliant. Bye.